Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, I will now continue the unfinished story. Chapter 35, The 5S Gang. Chapter 35, The 5S Gang. The capital city Androxa, in a house near the northern border of the city. 5 individuals were sitting around a table with ugly expressions on their faces. Who can blame them? They were just conned out of 8 million SC with some tips. What's even worse was that they were professional frauds who had an infamous reputation throughout the kingdom. Countless young masters and rich newcomers fell into their schemes, losing fortunes they could never recover from, yet this infamous gang got scammed by a stranger. Mr. 1, can you please explain why the hell did you add that bastard in our operation? You could have simply cried out loud that you don't know him, and he will have no choice but to bounce. The kind woman from before raged while pointing her finger at Mr. 1. She couldn't handle the awkward silence in the room anymore. Miss 4, it's not like I didn't think about it, it's that I couldn't. He placed his head on the table, not daring to make eye contact with his partners, and explained what happened. The moment I wanted to expose him, he whispered in my ears that if I don't play along he will advertise our real faces in UVR, and I somehow believed him, because he called me Mr. 1, something only you guys know. He buried his head under his arms even further and continued, after that, I could only play along, or else our scam would be exposed. Forget about earning a coin, I would have been beaten to death by the mob even though they couldn't kill me. The pain is 100% real, and I wanted to avoid that at all cost. You guys know I hate pain. He coughed to hide his embarrassment after mentioning that. Honestly, it was not Mr. 1's fault. The little bastard intervened at the worst possible period. At that point, we could only carry on and hope that he just wanted a piece of the profit. Alas, who would have known that he would take the entire cake and run? They all sighed helplessly after the naive junior from before mentioned what was truly in their minds. They knew that Mr. 1 should not be blamed for this, but they needed an outlet to vent their current suppressed anger. To make things even worse, young Master Lucas will hunt us down the moment he finds out that the Nightmare Bison was merely a rare ranked bloodline that was forced into evolving to epic rank. Fucking hell, who proposed the stupid idea of hiding our gang logo in our products to spread our fame? Now we will take the brunt of the Ethanon family rage. While not earning a single fart from the scam, the red-haired elder punched the table with his side fist furiously. Suddenly they all stared at his direction speechlessly, forcing the furious elder to gulp a mouthful. Why are you looking at me? Because it was you, Mr. 2. Mr. 1 eyed him weirdly and continued after seeing his disbelieving look. I still remember with vivid details that we were in this room drinking in celebration over our first successful scam. Out of nowhere you stood on the table and proposed that idea. He coughed and changed his voice into a hoarse one, trying his best to copy the elder voice, and said, I quote, "Guys, I have a dream to make our gang the most infamous fraud group in the UVR. Everyone will fear us, and the crooks will respect us, but to do so we need to have a unique logo that belongs to us, then hide it in our products, to spread our legacy for all to see." End of quote. He shrugged his shoulders and carried on using his normal voice, "Then you laughed like a madman and passed out due to alcohol." The others nodded their heads in approval as well, embarrassing the elder even move. Elder is either losing his memory or trying to pass the blame to someone else. Enough, I remembered as well after you reminded me. Just shut up already. He hit the bottom of his cane on the floor to shush them and changed the subject hurriedly. What important now is to lay low without doing any large activities. Since we will soon be hunted by the Lucas family, they might not be able to find us if we lived normally, but the moment we try to scam someone they will find us in a heartbeat. Their intel network is no joke. Indeed, we need to lay low for a couple of months. I am planning to spend this period in a vacation. I always wanted to see Oceanic World. Miss 4 shared her plans with clear lounging in her tone. It is a good tourist destination I visited a couple of years ago, and it was honestly the greatest tourist experience in my life. The young junior gave her double thumbs up as approval to her destination. Mr. 5 is right, Anyone who did not visit the oceanic world is missing half of his life. Maybe I should go with you, Miss For I also never seen it before, we can accompany each other the fat seller proposed sincerely. Stay away from me you creep we are calling each other with numbers to not know each other real identities so let's keep it that way and never ask me again on a date or I will smash your little balls she viciously threatened him, not caring about his pitiful look, clear contrast to her kind image during the scam. Cough, you can just say no politely why must you always be this aggressive? If it was not for your constant attempts of hitting on me, would I need to threaten you? She eyed him coldly and added an extra harsh remake you should change your code from Mr. 3 to ugly creep, it suits you better. I gave you my heart, so you can see my honest feelings but you trampled on it coldly Mr. 3 clutched his heart in anguish, but the way he kept looking at Miss 4 was tender and loving, sending chill on her back. Without warning, he cried passionately with one hand on his heart, while the other trying to reach for the disgusted Miss 4. The others who knew what was coming tried to stop him alas, it was too late as he began reciting a poem. Oh, how it hurts my heartstrings had been snapped into small pieces, while my love juice covered them like flies hovering over humans' feces. Bang! Incensed and aggrieved, Miss 4 banged the table with both of her hands the moment he finished his disgusting love poem. I will not work with him anymore I swear on it. Slam. She slammed the door shut after exiting, leaving one last loud remark behind I don't want to see his face when I return from my vacation otherwise, I will quit the gang. A sudden silence engulfed the room as the other three men eyed Mr. 3 who still didn't realize that his abrupt inspiration had put him into deep shit. They cracked their knuckles noisily, managing to wake up Mr. 3 from his absent-mindedness he gulped fearfully as he saw them approach him with deadpan expressions just as he tried to escape. They jumped all on him and began roughing him up mercilessly. Didn't we tell you before to stop raping our ears with your disgusting poems? It's one thing to say it to her and another to do so in our presence. Mr. 1 shouted as he stomped the creep face over and over again, breaking Mr. 3's nose and frontal teeth even so, he didn't stop his bashing. He must have used the poem as an excuse to vent his shame over being played by Felix. 5 minutes later Mr. 3 lay on the ground with 4 snapped limbs, each pointing in different directions not mention his face that was unrecognizable after that heavy beat down. Anyone would pass out in his condition but Mr. 3 just smiled with his bloodied mouth that had no teeth left and said with a hoarse inaudible voice. Cough, cough, you guys will never understand my art or my love for Miss 4 no matter how much you torture me, I will never change myself you just have to live with it. He, cough, cough. Just as he wanted to laugh at their futile attempt of stopping him from expressing his love using poems, he ended up swallowing a tooth, forcing him to choke on it he coughed while clutching his neck, trying to expel it, but to no avail. The other bastards just laughed at his misery, not caring if he choked to death. Mr. 1 even started recording this rare event while saying, Miss 4 will pay a heavy price to have this recording. The others nodded and pointed their bracelet at Mr. 3, who gave up on relying on their assistant to save him so, with a pained heart, he paid a heavy fee to heal his body to peak form again. The moment his body was fully healed, the others stopped their recording and changed the subject, ignoring the fuming expression of Mr. 3. What are we going to do about your nephew, Uncle Mr. 1? Mr. 5 asked sarcastically. Fuck off, don't bring that up again or else your fate will be the same as this creep. Relax, can't one say a joke here anymore or what? Honestly, nothing much we can do about it he probably had a disguise on, when he joined our scam, and after submerging himself in the crowd he changed into another one Mr. 2 sighed dejectedly and continued, so no matter how we search for him we will end up with nothing just like the others who searched for us after cheating them. It truly does not feel nice getting scammed, without the ability to retaliate is this what our victims were feeling? Mr. 5 said with a hint of remorse in his tone. Well don't get used to it this is the first time and also the last time we get into this fucked up situation our next plan needs to be foolproof to block anyone who tries repeating the little bastard feat. That's the only thing we can do now, I guess. Mr. 1 returned to his seat, and laid on it in a relaxed manner, and added, losing 8 million makes me feel demotivated from doing any small scams. I will take a vacation like Miss 4, I guess. Hopefully I recover from this setback. Same as well. Have fun guys, we group up in 6 months here again, and if the coast was clear we can start our operations. See you guys later. I am heading towards Oceanic World, my love shall lead me to meet up with my soulmate. Mr. 3 said as he bolted from the room, not daring to stay. He knew if he did, they would start a round 2 of thrashing him. Whatever, that retard probably does not know that Miss 4 said Oceanic World to throw him off, while her true destination was unknown. What a moron, spending 6 months on a planet searching for someone not even there. Should we warn him? Mr. 2 asked suddenly. They shared eye contact in silence for a while and then exploded with laughter. Ha ha ha. Let that creep suffer, hopefully, he dies so Miss 4 doesn't leave us. Sigh, our gang is really outbalanced. If even she left, I can't remain here anymore with 2 dudes and 1 creep. Preach true, can't argue with that. Thus, MR3 fate had been decided, to spend 6 months on a planet searching like an idiot. Chapter 36, Fortune and Misfortune. Chapter 36, Fortune and Misfortune. Felix spent 2 hours browsing products from one shop to another. He pre-purchased every potion necessary to facilitate his awakening process, from potions that allow him to heal himself after the process ends, to potions needed to add more percentage to awaken with. Felix never planned to use only a 1% percentage to integrate with at the start. He was confident in his pain tolerance to handle even more percentages all at once. He might not be like some freaks that straight away integrates with 20% to 30%, but he was certain that he could at least awaken with 10%. AHH. This was such an eventful day. He exhaled deeply. As he sat on a park bench in a relaxed manner, he licked an ice cream cone he was holding in enjoyment while thinking of all the activities he had gone through in one day. He opened a bank account and got a loan that turned out to be useless. Then he took his revenge on the 5S gang by scamming them out of their money. Finally, he pre-ordered items for his awakening. The only thing left was to buy a beast bloodline. But he already had plans to buy it tomorrow after the game, as pre-ordering doesn't work for bloodline bottles unless one had a good reputation or friendly relation with the seller. It's probably time to log out and sleep. He yawned drowsily and requested from the queen to log him out. 2 minutes later, he wore his clothes, planning to head towards the cafeteria to eat his dinner or whatever was left of it. As he exited his room, he met face to face with the expressionless Noah, who was about to close his room door. After a few moments of eye contact, they both nodded their heads as a greeting and went towards the elevator side by side without speaking a word. The moment they stepped inside the elevator, Felix extended his finger at the floor buttons and clicked on the 40th floor where the cafeteria was placed. Noah didn't click anything else, as the 40th floor was his destination as well. Ka-thump. After a while, the elevator stopped. Felix and Noah both exited together and went in the same direction. Please give me this, and some of this as well. Add a little bit of sauce on the chicken. Felix ordered his dinner, using his finger to guide the counter lady. Have a nice appetite, young master, she smiled politely. Smells good, thank you, auntie. He took his dinner and sat at the closest empty table. Noah immediately began ordering with his finger silently, just like a mute. After getting his dinner, he nodded at the counter lady and left to sit alone in a corner table. Crackle dong. Shortly, only sounds of forks and bowls echoed in the cafeteria, as no one was in it besides Felix and Noah. The rest already ate before and left to their own room to watch Supremacy Games streams or learn about the beasts of their newly found elements. Felix observed Noah as he ate slowly. He always wondered if his personality would be like Noah's if he didn't have his grandfather to take care of him. He sighed, saddened after recalling the bitter past Noah had to go through to be molded into a piece of deadwood, unresponsive to anyone but his sister. His fate was quite similar to Felix's, as he lost his parents young as well. However, their deaths were not in an incident. He lost his mother while giving birth to his sister a few years later. His father's mental and physical health declined continuously due to his wife's sudden death, until he couldn't handle it anymore and kicked the bucket by himself, leaving the sibling due all alone. At that period, Noah was only 8 years old while his sister wasn't even 4 years old. He had it even worse than Felix, but he neither complained nor begged for support. He just did his duties silently, while protecting his younger sister from harm. On the other hand, there was Felix, who went on full attention-seeking tantrum after his parents' death, like he was the only one in the world who suffered from such a pain. If he didn't have his grandfather watching his back in the shadow, he would have been exiled from the family years ago, due to his disgraceful actions that resulted in the family losing a bit of face. Felix only realized this after he matured and became an adult. Meanwhile, Noah had to mature at the mere age of 10 due to circumstances. He saw what Felix couldn't see, and did what he couldn't do. Their paths were the same, but completely different at the same time. He glanced one last time at Noah in admiration and lowered his head to continue his food in peace. Felix lifted his empty plate holder and put it next to the counter. Then he washed his hands with soap and walked back to the elevator drowsily. He truly needed to get some rest, as tomorrow will be more eventful than today. Next morning at 10 a.m. Inside the same floor where the juniors got their elemental affinity assessed. The juniors as yesterday stood in 4 lines, wearing skin-tight sportswear and standard white sneakers. The elders and parents observed their children, who stood up straight and proud, with excitement and a hint of envy and hopelessness. Elder Abraham soon clarified the reason why they looked at them as such, by making a speech sternly. You guys have no idea how big this opportunity that you have just received in this new era. Your minds cannot fathom the first and second generation disappointment over not being a junior at this moment. He brought the microphone near his mouth and spoke what was hidden in his heart and every elder in the earth with an envious tone. You have the right to obtain bloodline powers that can turn you into powerful undying beings with a lifespan exceeding thousands of years, while us old people can only live a maximum of 500 years, and that's only if we drunk potions or used substances. Anyone of my age or just your parents' age would kill to be in their youth once again, just so they can have the choice of whether to awaken or not. He sighed helplessly, but we don't even have that choice as you do. Everyone knew so as well, simply because it was common knowledge that humans who passed the age of 30, could not handle the integration process no matter what they do or consume. It had been tested over and over again, without any positive results, thus sentencing anyone whose age was above 30 a fate of not being able to be part of the awakened race. This was a scar every parent tried to hide, and suppress the grieving pain it kept causing, just so they won't burden their children any further. However, Abraham's words ripped that scar open after he mentioned it publicly like this, resulting in mothers sobbing and sniffing quietly, while fathers burying their heads under their shirts to hide their red eyes. They were affected the hardest by their inability to awaken. After all, some of them were still in their 30s. The only thought that kept ringing in their minds over and over again, whether in day or night, was, if only I was born a couple of years later, I might have had the chance to awaken. If only. Unfortunately, fate did not work that way. If there were some who obtained fortune, there were always others who were prone to misfortune. Fate was like a coin that had 2 sides. One represented fortune and the other misfortune. Our entire life's decisions, choices, and chances that appeared in front of us were all but fate throwing a coin in the air, and waiting to see the result. Are we fated for them or not? The reason I mention this, is not to make you feel bad for us, no. I said it to make you realize that you have something a lot of people wish to have, but can't obtain. Elder Abraham yelled furiously after seeing some juniors were about to cry, due to hearing their parents' sobs. I said it to make you feel like if you didn't work hard enough in your path, you won't just disappoint yourself, but your parents and elders who were supporting you from behind without receiving anything in return. He banged the podium with the side of his fist and continued, I said it to let you understand that not awakening successfully is the same as slapping us in the face. Finally, I said to let you know, that you are our future if you worked hard and got stronger, We might live longer to see your glory, but if you didn't, we will die at the age of 80 just like before, since to obtain the resources needed to increase our longevity is no easy thing, and it has never been that easy. If you want your parents to accompany you as far as possible in your journey, the only choice you have is to get stronger and more powerful to be able to repay their everlasting grace. So train like a beast and only look forward. The pain of awakening is merely momentarily pass it and your path to glory will open. Abraham couldn't help but roar the last part in indignation with all of his voice, as tears streamed through his cheeks. No longer able to hold them back after knowing that he would forever live as a commoner and die as a commoner. Chapter 37, Handing Out the Bloodlines. Chapter 37, Handing Out the Bloodlines. The juniors felt their blood turn hot from excitement and agitation after imagining a glorious future based on Abraham's speech, so, with red faces they shouted at the top of their lungs their goals and wishes they hoped to achieve. For my parents to live forever. For me to be the strongest. For the Maxwell. The moment the last chant was heard, everyone followed after, no matter if it was a junior, parent or an elder. For the Maxwell. 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 The only two who didn't chant were Felix and Noah, as one faked the chant by mouthing it, while the other didn't even bother to fake it. He just stood silently within the frenzied juniors. After a while, the youngsters regained control over their emotions and quietened down. However, their eyes were completely different from how they appeared earlier. Before the speech, their eyes were calm and nonchalant. They knew that a new era had arrived in their generation, but they just took it for granted, uncaring about their parents' or elders' hidden feelings. But after hearing Abraham's raw emotions that represented all of the elderly in the world, they could not take their bloodline path with a laid-back attitude anymore, due to the realization that they had something their parents wished for, but couldn't obtain. The only thought that ran amok in their minds was that, if they didn't take the awakening seriously, it was the same as spitting on the opportunity their family could only long for. Abraham used only words, facts, and his honest emotions to show them all of that. Good children, I trust that you will make us all proud in the future with your achievement, but first, we need to lay down a good foundation for you to do so, and this is the job of the training camps that are happening currently in every country and family like ours around the globe. Abraham smiled warmly after seeing their focused looks and continued, the training camp is extremely important for your future. He then began explaining why so, by extending 3 fingers each marking a stage of the training camp. He closed one finger and told them that the first stage had 2 months period. It would be used to train their body fitness, as well as building their pain tolerance. So they wouldn't be blindsided by the pain of the awakening process at the end of the first stage, and end up dead without even realizing what happened to them. He closed another finger and moved on to the second stage. He clarified first that it would only include those who awakened successfully, then he carried on by mentioning the things they were going to learn in it. Starting off by learning the correct method to increase their integration percentage after awakening. Secondly, what they should expect from the passives and actives abilities they were going to unlock after their awakening. Finally, he closed his hand into a fist and spoke about the last and final stage, the third. It would be used to teach them how to use their abilities properly, in addition to practicing synergies as a team. This stage would last for over 2 months as well, and in the end, there would be battles to decide on who would lead them towards the national battle. After Abraham saw their crestfallen expressions, expecting a hellish camp, he promised them with a cunning glint, that the best performer during the camp would obtain an AP bracelet. I hope the training camp explanation assisted in gaining understanding on those 6 months that you will spend together. However, he didn't receive any response from the juniors, as their brains blocked every incoming noise after he mentioned the AP bracelet. The dream device of everyone in the world currently, whether old or young. They envied Felix for getting one throughout the entire night. Some couldn't even sleep properly as they kept imagining Felix inside the UVR, living the dream. So when they heard that there was actually a chance for them to obtain it as well, their heartbeat couldn't help but accelerate in eagerness to begin showing their efforts to the elders. Abraham nodded in approval at the sight. Good, only AP bracelet can let them pass the upcoming hellish training camp, it is true. Just as he dived deeper in his thoughts, a voice awakened him and the rest from their excitement. Elder, I already obtained AP bracelet, so the reward at the end is really not motivating me as much. Without proper motivation, I doubt I would survive the camp. God knows I might even fail to awaken. Felix didn't let go of this chance to sound his displeasure over not being able to obtain anything at the end of the camp. Boy, you already got AP bracelet, what else do you want? The bloodline beast and resources are already going to be given to you during the camp, so there is nothing much to give that has the same value as the bracelet. Abraham rubbed his eyebrows in vexation over this issue. Cough. I don't want much, my only request is to own 51% shares on the entire island. I want to own it, not manage it. He smiled sincerely and added, I don't think I am asking for much here. Abraham sighed in relief after hearing his wish. He quickly approved of it without even consulting the elders. He knew that they won't oppose it as well, since Felix was a true heir of the family, not an outsider to consider deeply about it. After appeasing Felix, Elder Robert decided to take things from here on, as Abraham's throat was as dry as a bone. Now it's time to show you the bloodlines that we bought for you. Robert clapped his hand twice, and the servants brought 39 trays, each holding a glass bottle, containing different colors of liquid. After the servants took their position, he explained that their results in the family tradition were the criteria used to judge whether they deserved to own a rare rank bloodline or uncommon. Those who tried their best to revive the business they supervised will obtain a rare rank Tier 1 bloodline, while those who simply spent their time enjoying the 5 years period in luxury by using the budget we provided, will obtain only uncommon rank bloodline. Just as some juniors tried to whine about the unfair treatment, he cut them off sternly. You did this to yourselves, not us. If you can't even take the hardship of reviving a dead business, how could we trust in your character to integrate seriously? We are not charity here. Those bloodlines cost us a fortune, he added with an unforgiving tone while looking at a few juniors who either lowered their heads in shame or stood in a daze after realizing that nothing will save them from using a trashy uncommon bloodline. I will call you one by one, and give your bloodline bottle. You can either take it with you and be responsible over it, or leave it with us here until the awakening day. It depends on you. He tapped on his bracelet and a hologram popped out, displaying a list that had juniors' names with the bloodlines they were getting next to it. This futuristic image just further increased their eagerness of working hard to obtain the bracelet. A Felix Maxwell, fire element user. Due to your lackluster effort, you will obtain uncommon rank red salamander bloodline. A servant carrying the said bloodline went to Robert and gave it to him. Robert took it from there and transferred it to the upset junior, who received it unwillingly with his head bowed. Jackson Maxwell, fog element user. Due to your excellent hard work, you will obtain rare rank spectral owl bloodline. The youngster received it joyfully while bowing and thanking the elders for their grace. This process carried on slowly, as juniors turned past one by one. Some returned to their posts upset, while others were grinning widely like they won a jackpot. All sorts of bloodline names were thrown in the floor, each representing an element, ranging from common elements to uncommon ones. Olivia Maxwell, plant element user. Come forth. Due to your astonishing way of handling your business, you earned a rare rank Lily Dundalio bloodline. A delicate young lady with short wavy pistachio green hair, deep oceanic eyes, petite nose, and beneath it cute thin lips, approached Elder Robert happily. Her entire oval visage will make anyone who looks at her scream in their minds. So cute, plus with her short height not even reaching 155 centimeters, it made her appear like a sweet young flower no one would want to bully or displease, except for one hateful person, of course. Robert patted her head pleasantly and gave her the bloodline. Olivia received it while enjoying Robert's gentle patting. She then returned to her position, smiling cutely on the way, while holding the bottle near her non-existent chest. Chapter 38, The Training Camp Starts. Chapter 38, The Training Camp Starts. Kenny Maxwell, Darkness and Lighting Element user. Step forth. You earned a rare rank Erebus Dusk bloodline, thanks to your hard efforts. Robert handed the bottle to Kenny, who received a polite wide smile, but his smile somewhat turned creepy in the eyes of Felix, who was observing his sharp jawline, short spiky dark hair, a high-bridged nose that was among his two dark eyes, and his soft wide lips, which were very captivating. His appearance was quite unique, as some may think of him as handsome, while some would argue that he was subpar. Plus, with his multiple personalities, it did not make this difference any easier. However, Felix only thought of his face as one that should be thrashed every day to vent on what he did in his previous life. Kenny retreated to his position after paying respect towards the elders. Noah Maxwell, Ice Element user, step forth. Your reward is rare rank cryogenic Yeti bloodline. Robert waited until Noah reached his side, then patted his shoulder in encouragement while handing him the bottle. As the only one in the family to have a high affinity rating, everyone has great hopes on you to reach further than the rest. Noah nodded his head in appreciation to his words and went back to the same position, standing coldly like a piece of ice, and his visage was not making it any better, as his hair was messy sky blue, styled as an undercut, ink black eyes with long thin eyebrows above, imposing straight nose and frosty unmoving lips, creating a deadly fine face. Yet with his constant expressionless look, its potential had been lowered. While some might think his uncaring looks appeared cool and aloof, the majority would beg to differ, as expressions were the true decider to beauty. Little bastard, come here and get your rare rank toxic red boa's bloodline. Felix approached his grandfather gleefully. Train properly and don't embarrass me in front of those fogies, or else my belt will be the only snake you see in your life. Robert hugged his grandson, content with how he turned out to be. If it was not for his threat, the scene would be more heartwarming. Felix broke off from his hug and took his bottle smugly. Old geezer, after I awaken you won't be able to harm me with your belt. Even if you wanted, your scaring techniques have already lost their effects on me. But you won't awaken until 2 months later. I have no problem beating the shit out of you with my belt during this period. Who knows, your pain tolerance might even increase, truly hitting 2 stones with 1 rock. Robert instantly replied with a wide grin. Then he turned to the elders and asked for their opinion. Do you guys agree? I believe only my techniques are enough to help him pass the pain and awaken. I agree. He is all yours. Beat him well. We don't want our top seedling to fail to awaken. The elders did not fail to disappoint as they all chimed in their own support. Can I watch? Olivia asked with innocent round eyes. Felix raised his eyebrows in irritation after seeing everyone looking at him mockingly, waiting to see his response. He stared at his grandfather's wide grin and said sincerely, I don't think that is a good thing to do. Our family does not approve of favoritism, so I would rather take part in the same training program as others than to let my grandpa, a board elder, gives me an advantage over my cousins. He thumped his chest and said sternly, I'm a righteous individual who condemns such actions, so I refuse to take part in it. Tisk. Shameless as always. I guess nothing has changed during his stay on the island. Sigh. As long as his thuggish personality was gone, I am satisfied. Everyone facepalmed after realizing that Felix had not changed for the better, but improved his shameless craft even further during his stay in the island. Too bad, they didn't know that he spent years surviving in the UVR and SG to be as adaptive as he was now. Scram from my sight this instant. Robert lifted his leg, threatening to kick him if he didn't leave his side. Felix took the battle with him and returned to his position. After dodging a bullet, he turned his head and gave a mysterious glint in direction of Olivia. She flinched the moment she saw that glint, the same look he used every time he planned to prank her. She almost cried tearfully after seeing a grim future waiting for her, as no one was going to save or protect her from him after he thrashed them single-handedly. 5 minutes later, all the bloodline bottles had been given to their correct owners. Robert observed the juniors in the room with an unreadable look and said, one last thing to mention before we officially start the training camp. The details of your bloodline are written at the back of the bottle. Its history, abilities, either passive or active, are all there. You can read them in your rooms after we finish today's training. If you had any energy left to do so, that is. He then returned to his seat, allowing Abraham to take it from where he left. The training camp has officially started. He proclaimed loudly, the moment he grabbed the mic. Your first task is to use 3 minutes to deliver your bloodline bottles to your rooms and return here before the duration ends. Those who succeeded will obtain 100 merit points, while those who failed will have 100 merits deduced. If they don't have them, they will enter a merit debt. He began explaining the merit system. After seeing their confused looks, you should all understand that during the period of training everything is going to be controlled by your merits. Your food, your water, your shower, your resources, everything needs merit to trade with it. We used this method, so only those who work hard to finish their tasks will earn the right to be nurtured. As for those lazy bums, you can die of hunger, and no one will care, not even your parents. Worthless trash is not needed in the family, he said with a frigid, uncaring tone. Yet, the juniors showed no expression on their faces, as this was how they were taught since birth. Only by being useful to the family would they have worth in it. If not, they could simply leave, no one would stop them. After seeing that they had no questions about those arrangements, he told them to prepare for the countdown. The juniors all took a running position towards the elevators. 3, 2, 1, go. Everyone bolted towards the 3 elevators while holding tightly the bloodline bottles next to their chest. They knew that those elevators won't be able to hold all of them at once, which meant that the slowest of the bunch would need to use the staircase to reach their rooms, but that's quite impossible as the floor difference between the two was 15 floors. However, it was not all fine and dandy even for those who reached the elevator first. It's not like the rest would let them peacefully close the door in their faces. Hell no, they might be a family, but they had no qualm beating their cousin's brutality for victory. This resulted in a massive battle breaking out next to the elevators. Blood splashed everywhere, as juniors kept being kicked or punched in the face. The moment they stepped inside the elevator or tried to close the door, no one was spared, not even the females. Before long, the madness calmed down a bit, as the weaker juniors stopped trying to fight for the elevators and went to the staircase. Even though they understood that it was a hopeless attempt, they still had to show the elders that they tried their best. Yet the elders were not paying attention at their sympathy attempts, as they were too busy staring at Felix, who never left his position, reading in concentration his bloodline details. Indeed, if I had this bloodline in my previous life, I would have reached the first stage of replacement at least 1 year earlier. But now it didn't matter much. With his capital he could buy at least tier 4 rare rank beast to awaken with first. He sighed at how fate works. Before, he dreamed of resetting his life to obtain a rare rank beast to awaken with, but now the beast he dreamed about and fought for appeared like a piece of junk in his hands. He wouldn't use it even if he was beaten to death. Whatever plans never go as scripted in the paper. I guess I worked my ass off on the island to earn this bloodline, but in the end, I got AP bracelet, which was even better. You rascal, you will be the death of me. My heart can't take your bullshit anymore. You better explain why you are still here, or else I will give permission to all the parents here to beat you as revenge for their children. Now start talking. Robert was truly about to faint from anger. He just told him to try his best during the training camp, but here he was doing absolutely nothing, embarrassing him in front of the elders and seniors. Grandpa, you really need to relax. We can't afford to have you die now after ways were found to treat your disease. Worried, Felix tried to calm Robert a bit, but his words just made it even worse. Fuck, don't worry about me, worry about yourself, as you won't leave this hall in one piece if you don't say your reason. Felix sighed and walked towards Abraham and gave him the bloodline bottle. Abraham caught it reflexively. After seeing that it was in the elder hands, Felix shrugged his shoulders and explained his reason. You said before, that we can either take the bloodline with us and or hand it over to you for keepsake. Well, I honestly feel like my cousins hate my guts for some unknown reason, and I can't leave the bloodline in my possession in this kind of environment. I worry some of them might destroy it or steal it as revenge. He smiled innocently and added, in this sense, I feel like the task you gave me was meaningless, as I can't run towards my room without a bottle then returning here like a retard. The elders and seniors who heard his explanation had weird expressions in their faces but were somewhat convinced since everything he said was correct. The task was for the juniors to put the bottle in their room and return, but if he had no bottle, Didn't that mean that he was simply joining in the fun for no reason? Sigh, it is our fault for leaving such loophole. If we knew, we would have given another task for those who want to leave their bloodline with us. Abraham sighed dejectedly after their first task in the camp went haywire. Well, we thought they would read the details after the training ends today, then give us their bottles to be safeguarded. Who would have known there was a shameless person who will read the details right here, then return it to us instantly. The long-nosed elder from the board chuckled while eyeing Felix. Carter is right, we failed to add Felix's shamelessness to the mix, but not anymore. All the next tasks will be loophole-free. I will make sure of it. Let's see what you can do then, rascal. Robert stared stubbornly at Felix, who was yawning in boredom, waiting for them to finish their verdict. Chapter 39, Confidence Boost. Chapter 39, Confidence Boost. All right, Robert, that's for the future tasks. We need to decide what to do with him now. Should we reward him with merits or not? Charlotte dragged the stubborn Robert back in his seat. Just give him 200 merits. Since he used his brain and found the loophole, we can't punish him for relying on wits. We would be the laughingstock of all business families if we did so. Agreed. Second, that indeed he did not break the rules. Felix, we decided that you shall be rewarded with 200 merits instead of the original 100. Take it as a bonus reward. Abraham smiled with a hidden glint. Felix saw it but did not know what he meant by it, so he stopped thinking about it, and accepted the free points. Half the juniors arrived without breaking a sweat, as they used the elevators and did not need to run too much though. They were covered in blood and scratches, some even had their teeth knocked out. They really fought tooth and nail for those 100 points. But they still had it better than the rest, who were probably still in their rooms or climbing back the stairs. They got beat up but still failed the task. Everyone who reached saw Felix standing in the same position while staring at the ceiling, absent-minded, like he was contemplating his life choices. However, they did not find it weird, as they assumed that he just arrived as well from another elevator. The only thing questionable about him was the fact that he had no injuries like them. They soon began to question each other on who rode with the devil himself. I took the first elevator, he was not us. Me second, I definitely didn't see him with us. The hell? He didn't take the third as well. In the end, they stared at Felix speechlessly, not knowing his reason for giving up on the task. The thought that he used the stairs didn't even cross their minds, no matter how godlike Felix appeared when he threshed them before. Common sense still applied to him. The rest of the juniors, who took the stairs, arrived as well. Surprisingly, Kenny and Olivia were within them. Well, for Olivia it could be understood, as she didn't participate in their fight. However, for Kenny, a quite strong and intelligent junior, to not win a spot inside the elevator, it was quite weird. The elders did not rush them after seeing their horrendous fitness. Their eyelids couldn't help but twitch couple times, as they noticed few juniors vomiting their breakfast in the corners of the floor. The entire reason for this simple task was to find out only two things, ruthlessness and fitness. They were quite pleased with the former, but the latter was quite a disappointment. After a while, Abraham clapped his hands twice to bring their attention towards him. Since everyone is here, it is time to evaluate your performance. He clicked on his bracelet and a hologram popped out. 21 of you managed to pass the task successfully. I will call the names of those who passed. If you did not hear your names, it meant that you failed. He read the names of those who passed from the holographic list: Jack, David, Owen, Luke, Sarah, Noah, Felix. Those who heard their names clutched their fists, while those who didn't, cried miserably over losing 100 merits that they didn't even possess. Thoughts of fasting crossed their minds. Suddenly someone of those who passed realized that Felix finished the task as well, which was quite weird, as he believed that Felix didn't even take part in the first place. After all, he was not in any elevator and definitely didn't use the stairs, so why the fuck did he pass? He approached a cousin from the losing bracket and ratted on Felix without a flinch. Let him ask the elders, no need for me to question their decisions. I still want my life, but those morons will dare to confront the elders about this blatant favoritism. He retreated to his position and continued to massage his bruised cheek. Before long, the news kept passing from one to another, until hushed whispers noises resonated in the hall. The noise got so bad, Even the elders were alerted. "Enough, what's the matter with you? You better explain yourselves or else everyone is going to get 20 merits deducted." Abraham banged his fist on the podium over this blatant disrespect in their faces. Silence suddenly descended in the floor, as everyone was too afraid to make a fart in the presence of an angry elder. They might be polite and gentle most of the time, but when they get furious, shit gets real, pretty fast. If they didn't have a vicious rough personality, they wouldn't have been able to secure their position as a business empire family elder. "Speak." Abraham didn't have time to indulge in their silence, as more important matters were waiting for him. "Elder, we were conversing about Felix. It came to our attention that he managed to pass the test without doing anything, so we were just wondering how he did it, so we can learn from him next time." Junior, wearing glasses, bowed his head respectfully and explained without a stutter. Other elders smiled in approval at his explanation. They appreciated the fact he was smart enough to question their decision without being upfront and saying directly, why he passed while doing jack shit and not us. "It's simple, he was the only one who found the hidden mission we left behind during the task. If you used your intelligence like we taught you and not run like monkeys the moment we gave you an order, you might have been able to see it as well." The rest of the elders and seniors were struggling to hold their laughter, as they listened to Abraham spew bullshit through his teeth sternly. This hidden mission was to see who is able to take advantage of the family safeguarding mechanism we mentioned before, to pass the task without breaking a sweat. If you used your brain for a second, you might have realized that by giving us your bloodlines you wouldn't need to run to your rooms in the first place just like Felix did. Next time use your fucking brains. Dissatisfied and disappointed, Elder Abraham scolded them, uncaring about the elders behind him who were trying their best not to bust his act. The only one who knew that Abraham was lying but didn't find funny was Felix. As he gaped wide-eyed at Elder Abraham, twist facts and truths to make it seem like it was their plan all along to have the loophole he discovered, as a hidden mission. Only now did he realize the reason for their generosity and Abraham's hidden glint. He rubbed his eyebrows at their silly attempt to shush him with a bribe. It's clear as day that the elders didn't want to lose the training camp dignity before it even began. After all, for the first task to have such a large loophole would turn it into a joke in the eyes of their juniors, and they couldn't allow that to happen no matter what. Meanwhile, those youngsters kept switching their side between Abraham and Felix with bulging eyes, not daring to accept the fact that their IQ was even lower than Felix, the thug of the family who skipped every class in school. In their eyes, accepting it was the same as stressing that their time spent studying and learning to become smarter was but for naught. Soon their shock was replaced with numbness as they stopped dwelling deeper into it. Felix already surpassed them in courage, foresight, combat, and stamina. It would be weird not to beat them in intelligence as well. Guess we can just die. Our existence is merely there so the elders can compare us. If so, it's better to just end it now. I got beat up, ran 15 floors twice, just to be slapped by the reality that I could have avoided it. I should just throw myself out of the window and save my parents' face. Suddenly the floor turned chilly, as half of the juniors stared at the ceiling with suicidal thoughts. Abraham instantly realized that his plan had backfired after seeing their expression of admitting defeat. He tried to salvage the situation hurriedly by flattering them, "We the elders might not show it, but we truly admire the fact that you didn't give up on the task, knowingly that it was impossible to pass. So hold your heads up, the training camp has just begun. Trust me, there are hundreds of ways to showcase your talents and magnificence. Some of you might awaken faster than Felix, while some of you might obtain better abilities than him. You just have to find your way to surpass him." Abraham had absolutely no qualms using Felix as a stepping stone to flatter them. As long as their determination reignites, he wouldn't mind slapping Felix with some merits points as compensation. Am I right, Felix? He decided to put Felix in his charade after seeing that nothing of what he said worked. Vexed, Felix sighed at the sight. He didn't know why Abraham was even trying to help those pieces of trash who lost their goal at the first setback in their long integration journey, but he could only play along. It's not like he was not getting paid. Indeed, I am not the best or even close to being that. Just yesterday I saw in the UVR, multiple humans with different unique talents, that I can only wish to obtain." He slumped his shoulders and added, "Sadly, I can't, since it belongs to them only, and no one can take it from them." Did you hear him? You just need to find your unique talent, and no one is going to be as good as you while doing it, so lift your heads up. It is too early to feel discouraged. The training has just begun, and I can't allow you to give up now." Abraham swiftly supported Felix with a penetrating voice, which struck the hearts of those losers who were about to give up on their path. In a sense, it was quite understandable, as no one would want to live a life where their entire existence was merely a supporting character to be compared to others. They simply hoped to be the main character of their own lives and stories, and what Abraham and Felix mentioned was the ignition to help them achieve it. The chilly atmosphere was gone as suddenly as it appeared. How could it not? When those losers' eyes were emitting blazing flames like torches, eager to find the unique talent that set them apart from the rest. Felix scratched his cheek while observing the results of his confidence boost. "Let's see how far it's going to last you for." "Well, whatever, as long as I get paid with merits over my boosting, I don't mind doing it again." Chapter 40, You Have No Idea. Chapter 40, You Have No Idea. After seeing that his attempt managed to uplift their spirits, Elder Abraham decided to strike the iron while it's hot and explain the next task. "All right, give me your attention. This task purpose was only to give us a glimpse at your fitness level, and to be frank, it's horrible. So starting from today until you awaken, you will have to run 5 kilometers on the treadmill, do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 squats for the next 30 days. Elder Abraham continued his explanation, unbothered about the few whines here and there about the difficulty of the training. Each exercise is limited to 2 hours. That means the total hours of practice will be 8 hours each day in the week, except Sunday. You can take a break in them." They sighed in relief after hearing that they truly didn't have what it took to finish all the exercises every single day, without a break. As he said, their fitness was trash, and for them to start with those exercises were already more than enough to physically and mentally fatigue them. Finally, each exercise you finish during the allowed period will provide you with 200 merits as a reward. That means, you can earn as much as 800 merits every day if you worked hard for it. On the other hand, if you failed to finish one exercise, the same amount will be deducted. We emailed the details of the merits system to your emails, you can read them later. Now go do as you wish. If you want to train, do it. If you want to play, do it. Just be aware that everything is being supervised and monitored." He waved his hand and turned away, planning to leave with the rest of the elders. However, a junior question soon stopped him in his tracks. "What about the second month, Elder?" "Oh, that will be for your pain tolerance drilling, but you don't need to hear details about it now. Leave my sight, I am too tired." He shooed them away and left with the elders and seniors hastily. They had an empire to run. It's not like they could keep watching them train daily. No one had that much time. The only elder left to supervise them was Robert, who had a wide grin planted on his face, while gazing at Felix, like a hawk. Noisy chatter engulfed the floor as youngsters all spread apart in groups. Some headed straight to the gym to start their training, while some went to clean up after vomiting their guts out. Each to his own. The only thing that mattered was to finish the exercises in 8 hours every day. Meanwhile, Felix decided to start training ASAP, so he could catch solid wall game tonight. As he was walking absent-mindedly, thinking about tonight's game, he bumped into Olivia, who was waiting in front of the elevator. "Ouch, watch where you are going, Felix." Olivia didn't even wait to finish her scolding before she bolted towards the stairs with her small legs like she saw a ghost. "What the fuck? I am not going to eat you, to run away from me." Felix's eyelids twitched at this sight. "But since you decided to run, this is a clear approval of letting me chase after you." He glanced at his bracelet and saw that he still had some hours to kill, so he gave a wolfish grin and sprinted after her. Suddenly, everyone stopped what they were doing and just watched Felix chasing after Olivia around the building, floor after floor, room after room. Olivia kept running with tears streaming through her cheeks. She constantly cried for help, Every time she met with a cousin but no one dared to assist her. The alliance had been broken by Felix's sheer brutality. Everyone was on his own at this point. Olivia's friends could only pray in their minds for Felix to get bored and leave her alone. Robert watched the scene in the monitor's room while holding a popcorn bucket in one hand and remote control in the other. He zoomed at Olivia, who was sobbing while apologizing to Felix for provoking him earlier. Then he zoomed at his grandson, who always kept a distance between him and Olivia to enjoy the hunt even more. His wolfish grin and evil laugh was clear evidence of pleasure over bullying this little sheep. This bastard truly never gives a break to poor Olivia. I guess it is time to save her, or else she won't dare to leave her room anymore. Robert brought a microphone near his mouth and ordered sternly, "Felix, you have 3 seconds to leave Olivia alone, otherwise, you will have a date with my belt tonight." Felix clicked his tongue and changed his direction, heading towards the gym to start training properly. Olivia glanced at her back, after noticing that Felix's wolfish howls he used to scare her with stopped coming. Did he really listen to Grandpa Robert? She chewed her lips while observing the area around her. She knew that Felix rarely listened to his grandfather's orders, so he could be hiding anywhere. After a while, she relaxed her tense shoulders and dropped to the floor. She began massaging her sour legs in a gentle manner. "It seems like he truly left. I really need to stop provoking him. He is always looking for a reason to bully me." She clutched her fist and narrowed her eyes, "But things are going to change. If I awaken successfully, he won't be able to bully me anymore." She laughed foolishly, "It might even be my turn to bully him." Soon, she stood up and walked in direction of the elevator with that foolish cute smile, imagining herself wearing wolf clothes while stepping on Felix, who was begging for mercy. Suddenly, her imagination was destroyed when she heard a teasing whisper in her ear, "Gotcha, little Oli." The moment she heard Felix's voice, she shrieked for a few seconds and fainted on the ground with her eyes rolled in her head. "Felix, I will fucking kill you tonight if you don't leave her alone." Robert's infuriated voice resounded throughout the entire building, scaring the shit out of the elders and juniors. Fine. Can't one play a prank on fellow family members these days or what? Aggrieved and irritated, he lifted the passed out Olivia in a princess carry, but shortly, he switched to carrying her on his shoulder, leaving her arms and legs to dangle both sides. "It's better this way. If I carried her like a princess, she might faint again if she saw my face." Afterward, he trod towards the elevator, planning to visit the gym, which was at the 10th floor. This time for real. 3 minutes later, the elevator door opened up slowly, revealing Felix carrying Olivia like a sandbag. Everyone froze whatever they were doing, and stared at Felix walking unhurried towards the bathroom like nothing was wrong with the current situation. Felix noticed their stunned looks, but he didn't bother explaining himself. He simply stepped inside the bathroom and locked it shut. Cluck. The sound of the door getting locked broke them out of their daze. Is he finally going to drop the facade and do the deed? I knew it. He always bullied Olivia, just to be with her, since he had feelings for her. Oh, I wish I could watch. Should I risk it and take a quick peek? What a monster, to do it while she is unconscious. Noah. Their thoughts went wild, as they bore on the bathroom door, not daring to approach it or condemn Felix out loud on his misleading actions. If even Robert allowed it, why should they interfere? It's always better to mind your business. Felix put Olivia on the toilet chair and sprinkled cold water on her face. After seeing a positive reaction, he left the toilet and closed the door on her. A few seconds later, her eyelashes quivered, and her button-like nose wrinkled as cold water dropped streaming through it. She scratched it reflexively and opened her eyes groggily. As she regained full clarity, she noticed her current strange position. Where is Felix and who put me here? Is this one of his pranks? She adjusted her training outfit cuffs while chewing on her lips. Little Oli, come out, and stop chewing your lips. I always told you to remove that habit of yours. Felix knocked on her toilet door 2 times and said, We are in the bathroom without monitor cameras. I want to talk to you seriously about something. His voice wasn't commending, or harsh. He simply soothed her with a gentle tone. Olivia didn't scream in fear this time, she just sighed helplessly and opened the door. She popped her small head first, surveying the area with wide eyes, trying to locate Felix' whereabouts. She didn't want another jump scare. Soon, her watery blue eyes locked into Felix's gentle eyes. She instantly lowered her head, embarrassed, not daring to continue having eye contact with him. However, Felix lightly knocked on the sink, bringing her attention back to him. He didn't take her to the bathroom to exchange those lovey-dovey eye contacts, but for serious business. "Little Oli, don't take what you are about to hear personally." He faced the mirror, ignoring Olivia's confused look, and said, "You will die a horrible death if you awakened with your current bubbly non-serious personality. Not just you, but at least 70% of our cousins will meet the same fate." He sighed as he saw her parted lips and befuddled eyes, through her reflection on the mirror. "Everyone believes that they are the chosen ones, who will surely pass the pain using only sheer will, like they were in a fantasy novel." He faced her, "But let me tell you something, Oli, this is reality, where anyone who braved the awakening process with only their courage and determination, died horribly." Olivia took a step back, after being frightened by his serious look and stern tone. He didn't seem like he was joking or pranking her at all, which scared her even more. Felix didn't care about comforting her, as he simply narrowed his eyes and asked, "Do you still dare to awaken now?" He added, "And if you do, tell me why." Olivia didn't answer him, as she was trying her best to process the fact that she would die during awakening. She always believed that she could handle the infamous painful process because she thought that since people could pass it successfully, why couldn't she do the same? Yet, Felix blatantly made it clear that was merely wishful thinking. What bothered her, even more, was the way he said so confidently and certain of it happening. She couldn't help but have some doubts in her mind. However, doubts were doubts. It didn't mean she trusted his words entirely. She wasn't stupid to believe everything that he said, especially the reality that 70% of her cousins would die as well. "How do you know about all of this? And if it was true, how could you know it while the family doesn't?" She fired her inquiries while chewing on her lips again, a habit she always had since young. "Don't tell me you found out about it during one night in UVR, because the family had them for over 5 months now. This meant they would have already known about it long ago, but that's impossible, as they won't allow us to awaken if the majority of us will die, just like you mentioned." She stared at his eyes defiantly, not daring to believe him and not wanting to if she did. It signified one horrifying fact. That was, the family had no qualms sending 70% of their children to certain death. Felix gave a sinister smile and whispered in her ear. His breath sent a chill inside her earlobe. "Little Oli, you have no idea at all what the temptation of longevity can push one to do. No idea at all." Chapter 41, The True Horror of Awakening. Chapter 41, The True Horror of Awakening. "What do you mean by temptation? I don't think the elders and our parents would approve of such a thing." Olivia shook her head firmly with closed eyes. She didn't want to look at his devilish mouth, spewing such terrifying lies to her face. Felix lifted her chin gently and gazed at her tight-shut eyes and pressed lips. "Little Oli, do you honestly believe that the family would care about our lives when their longevity and authority is threatened?" He chuckled mockingly and said, "Don't be so naive. Even if only one of us managed to survive the process of awakening, it is a win in their eyes, since it means that they still have a chance to obtain some items that may extend their lives." He sighed and pulled away from her. "Don't hate them for it, neither disdain them. It is a simple trade between us. They gave us bloodlines, resources, training opportunities, and everything we need to awaken, so we won't forget them after we gain power." Indeed, the family was doing all of this, not out of the goodness of their heart, rather, to obtain backing from their awakened juniors during upcoming authority struggles. This current era was controlled not by weapons, or diplomacy, but simply, the number of awakening individuals a country or a family had. The elders would be damned if they left this race for authority, just so they could protect useless juniors who had no real power in this new era. That's why the World Council downplayed the painful process of awakening by releasing only the good parts of it, As for the dangers and the actual process, they didn't mention it much in their streams. The families, companies, governments, associations, and more backgrounds were all in this together. They knew that youngsters, no matter how rash they were in making decisions, they still wouldn't dare to awaken if its dangers were released publicly. The leaders wanted them to underestimate it and go for it no matter what. If not else, who would pave the road ahead in this new era? Felix chuckled and approached Olivia, who had her palms in her ears while muttering in denial, "You are a liar. I'm not listening to your lies. My parents won't allow it." "Tell me the most painful physical experience you went through to this point," he asked her after seeing that she wasn't going to hear any more of his explanations yet. Olivia didn't respond. She just pretended that she didn't hear a thing. Vexed, Felix removed her hands from covering her ears and repeated his question again with a firmer tone. This time Olivia couldn't pretend anymore. She fiddled with the corner of her outfit and answered, "It was when I was 12 years old. I fell from the stairs of my parents' mansion. I broke 2 ribs and 1 arm. Oh yes, I do remember that. I visited you in the hospital many times to show my concern." Nostalgic, he chuckled as he remembered those peaceful days. "But each time you visited, you kept drawing on my arms, cast funny faces and calling me mummy after seeing me in bandages." Olivia pouted with her hands crossed. "Stop jesting, little Oli. You must have mistaken me for Kenny." Before she could bicker back with him, he poked her forehead and said, "Now tell me, Oli, if that was the greatest pain you felt in your life, how are you supposed to handle an agony that strikes the fiber of your being, trying to change your very own cells to something different in a period that lasts more than 30 minutes? Please enlighten me." He hoped that everything he just said might break her illusion and bring some sense in her mind that awakening was not something to be taken lightly of. Only when one really braced himself for death, could he start the process with a focused mind, have a decent chance of passing it. Agitated, Olivia could only turn her head away from his questioning gaze. "I don't know. Okay. If everything that you said was right, it only meant that I am not ready for awakening and probably never will, so I really don't know what to do anymore." She covered her eyes as she sobbed. She couldn't handle it anymore. Felix was shattering all her dreams for a bright future, where she was a strong awakened, controlling her own fate and resisting everyone's bullying. However, now she could only cry her eyes out after realizing that she would stay the same as always, weak and protected by others. Something she hated since young, as no matter how much she had grown, everyone sees her as a little child, either to bully and tease or to protect and please. Felix brought her to his embrace and patted her back gently to comfort her. "Don't worry about it, Oli. I just wanted you to treat awakening seriously, not block you from it." He smiled and said, "I can help you lower the pain period to only 20%. You just have to promise me that you will work hard during the upcoming pain tolerance drills, so you can be as prepared as possible." Olivia lifted her small head and stared at Felix with her damp blue eyes, quivering eyelashes like a hurt bunny. "Really, you can do that?" He shrugged his shoulders and explained, unaffected by her cute appearance, "Indeed, not just me. I believe the family will try their best to do the same, but they won't be able to lower the pain period to 20%, but probably just 75%. That's not so bad, as at least some of our cousins will survive." His dull reply was a clear display that he was unbothered about their certain death. He only cared about 2 of his cousins. One was Olivia, his childhood friend, in his point of view; the other was Noah, whose character was admirable. As for others, they could burn in hell and he wouldn't mind. She broke off from his hug and wiped her tears with her sleeves. "Why don't you share your method to the family? Isn't it better if everyone had higher chances to succeed?" "Because our methods are the same." He clicked on his bracelet and a hologram of a small glass bottle filled with thick blue liquid revolved in front of Olivia. "This is what we will use, a potion called Pain Relief. The only difference is the number of potions used." He explained that each potion could lower the pain duration by 20%, but after drinking 4 continuously her body would build immunity to its effect, thus forcing the duration to freeze at 20%. Those potions were extremely important for each awakener. One must at least drink minimum 2 potions before risking it. However, the family was not rich enough to afford 2 potions for each junior. Heck, they couldn't afford to get even 1 for each junior. This meant for those who risked awakening in that condition, death was certain unless a miracle happened. I understand, but why would you go that far for me? Is it really as my cousin said you like me? She avoided having eye contact with him as she stammered her question. Amused at her conclusion, he flicked her forehead and patted her head like a child. Get some common sense, little Oli. If I had feelings towards you, would I bully and tease you each time I meet you until you avoided me at all costs? He turned around and walked towards the bathroom door, leaving his real reason why he went through all of this. I see you as a childhood friend, who played with me and tolerated my tantrums during the death of my family. I am only doing this to repay you for the past. And also not to see your corpse covered in your own pool of blood and sweat, he thought. Olivia rubbed her red forehead and stomped her leg in irritation after being treated like a kid again. I will show you all that I am 17 years old just like you, and make you treat me with respect. Just you wait. She cleaned her face with water and followed after Felix. Yet, the moment she emerged from the door, she saw everyone looking at her damp eyes and red face from crying and embarrassment, things that water couldn't clean. What a beast, he really did it? I can't believe my cute Olivia was defiled by that thug. I swear I will avenge you, Olivia, just wait after I awaken. Olivia tilted her petite oval head in confusion at their looks. What's with their pained expression? Did they get all food poisoned or what? I wish you get well soon. She nodded at them and walked towards the treadmill near Felix and started jogging. Everyone's already messy thoughts got even messy at this flabbergasting sight. Never in their wildest dreams would they have expected Olivia, the number one Felix's prey, to approach him by her own will. What the hell? Why did she practice near Felix when there are over 20 treadmills empty? No, my little Olivia, don't join his side. Even if he took your first time, you should never obey him. Why do I feel like this training camp is not going to be peaceful? Interesting, Olivia is the last one I expected to befriend him. Truly interesting, Kenny mused while his real face had a wide gentle smile on it, as he did squats. Noah. Why are you training next to me? Are you not afraid of rumors? You do realize that we were in the bathroom alone for over 15 minutes, and by doing this you just made it worse for you. Confused just like the rest, Felix asked her. He knew that her real personality was quite shy and gets easily affected by rumors, so, for her to be this bold was truly a sight to behold. Olivia bared her little fangs at him and others. You can all mind your business, and stop caring about what I do, and what I say. I am 17 years old just like everyone here. I am not a child to fear others' opinions on me. They can say what they want, I don't care. Felix chuckled at her cute angry tantrum and said, all right little adult, whatever you say. She humphed and focused on her practice, not wanting to bicker with him anymore. Chapter 42, Boss Olivia. Chapter 42, Boss Olivia. Time slowly passed by, as Felix and Olivia were almost about to finish their 5 kilometers exercise. Felix trained with utmost focus, looking only straight ahead. Meanwhile, Olivia kept stealing quick glances at him. If that was only it, Felix wouldn't be bothered, but every time she peeked at him, she opened her mouth trying to say something. However, in the end, she closed it shut and continued to run in silence. Annoyed yet somewhat piqued, he removed his AirPods and asked, out with it, what do you want to say? Olivia stumbled on the treadmill, almost falling flat on her face after being found out. He chuckled at this sight, making her cheeks flush red. Thank you, Felix, I appreciate your promise. She avoided eye contact with him, as she shyly buried her head downward. Don't mention it anymore. He waved his hand casually and wore his AirPods back on, focusing on the last 500 meters left. Olivia smiled and stopped peeking at him. 4 minutes later. Felix cleaned his body from sweat while drinking a small bottle of water. After finishing it, half of it, he closed the lid and walked on the treadmill while stretching his shoulders, preparing for the next exercise. After a while, Olivia finished as well. She turned off the treadmill and stood on the gym floor with her hands on her knees, breathing ruggedly. It was not just her, but almost everyone was either training hard while breathing roughly with sweaty armpits and back, or lying on the ground unmoving. If it was not for their chest that was rising and falling periodically, the rest would have assumed they had died. A clear contrast to Felix, who dropped into the floor after few minutes break, and began doing his required 50 push-ups without making a sound. For Felix, who spent 6 months in the island training in the gym each day, this was merely a warm-up. However, for those juniors who probably never wore their training outfit, since the moment they began their mission, this was pure hell. The family took into consideration their body's long inactivity and lowered the fitness training to the bare minimum. This helped Felix breeze through it with ease. His cousins just gazed in his direction with envious looks, wishing to trade their trashy stamina, that couldn't even let them finish 20 push-ups properly, with his. Olivia stood next to him, staring in wonder at his endless stamina. She couldn't help but ask with admiration, "Felix, how did manage to build such good endurance?" "I have been training 2 times a week to keep myself always in shape, but my endurance did not improve much. I always get easily tired." Felix froze with his hands extended straight and stared at her with a serious expression. Olivia gulped at his solemn look, expecting to hear his secret. Her ears wiggled slightly. Too bad, she forgot she was dealing with Felix. "Isn't obvious? How could you have the same vigor as I, with your tiny lungs? You probably have difficulty even breathing normally." Furious at being played like this, Olivia stomped his head with her leg, while huffing, "You promised you will stop bullying me. This is your punishment for lying." Felix didn't even get a chance to feel smug about his prank before his face got planted on the gym floor. What the fuck, did she really change that much? To actually retaliate and dare beat me up? It seems that little Oli is serious in showcasing to everyone that she is not an easy target. Well, might as well assist her. He grinned cunningly, unnoticed by anyone. "Ow. My face, you broke my nose, Olivia. How can you be this brutal?" "I was just teasing you like always," Felix cried out loud pitifully while covering his nose with both of his hands. He sent a wink at the dumbfounded Olivia, who thought her leg strength couldn't even harm a fly, don't even mention breaking someone's nose. Thrilled and excited at this turn of events, the juniors gloated at Felix, who was whining on the floor. They never thought that Olivia, the sweetest flower in the family, to actually hit someone, but goddamn, if it didn't feel good to see that devil on the ground like that. "Good job, Olivia, always hit him back if he bullies you." "That's right, you don't have to fear him, as he won't dare to hit you, or else Elder Robert will cut his balls." I never thought I would see her hit someone in my life, honestly. Same, she always got protected by seniors or us when she got bullied, that's why I guess. Let's cheer for her, so she won't forget this moment. Noah. The cousins were not cheap in their cheers and applause, as they kept chanting her name with genuine smiles. Olivia was the only cousin who had a friendly relationship with everyone. Her social influence was quite high, to the point, if she made a request no one would say no to her face. Yet, she had no idea about any of this, as she never requested anything in her life. That's why, she was quite shy about thanking Felix for his promise. She was not used to such a thing. Dumbstruck, Olivia stood with parted lips and wide eyes at the sight. She didn't understand how her unconscious stomp would turn things this way. She peeked at Felix, the propagator of this entire charade, and saw that he was scratching his nose with a finger. Felix gave her thumbs up to encourage her after noticing her peeking at him. Olivia felt her heart warm up at the sight. She figured out easily that Felix was trying to help her build an adult image just like she always wanted but never could. She had no idea how to do so properly. It's not like she could point her finger at someone and order him to treat her like an adult. If she went forward and did that with her short height and cute face, her image would instantly get fixed as being childish forever. So, she really appreciated this opportunity and decided to play along with Felix. Assertive, she puffed out her chest, she had one in her point of view, and placed her little feet on Felix's back like a champion. "I will not let you or anyone else to bully or tease me like a child. If anyone did so, I don't mind breaking his nose as well, understood?" Afraid and respectful, Felix replied loud and clear, "Yes, big sister Olivia, I will not bully you anymore." It would be fine and dandy, if he wasn't making funny faces in the process, at Olivia to make her laugh and break out of character. Olivia tried her best to hold her laughter while looking at his retarded face. Good, this is the last time, now scram to your room, she ordered with a forced rigid face. Felix understood her cue and escaped towards the elevator while holding his nose. The moment he left the gym, the juniors broke into loud cheers after Olivia exiled the devil who traumatized them. They grouped around Olivia and lifted her small body, throwing her in the air, like a bag of potato chips. Felix was currently in his room finishing the leftover push-ups. I hope that was enough to head start her image reform, otherwise, when she visits the UVR, she will be bullied to death. After finishing the last push-up, he took his phone and called his grandfather. What do you want, rascal? I will finish the training exercises in my room since I was kicked out by Boss Olivia. Felix chuckled. Haha, Boss Olivia, if she heard you say it, she won't be able to sleep tonight properly. Go ahead, you can do them in your room every day, but use the treadmill for running. Fuck. Got to go. Olivia just vomited over everyone's head after being thrown in the air like a plaything. He immediately hanged up and announced through his microphone, you rascals, go clean yourself up, and start training properly. And someone takes Olivia to the nursing room. She does not look all right now, move. Felix held his waist as he laughed out loud. He couldn't help but do so after imagining Olivia vomiting her breakfast from the sky on everyone's heads, like rain from above. Now they will truly fear you, little Oli. Felix was lying on the bed with a laptop on his stomach while wearing cozy pajamas. He already finished all of his exercises and showered properly. Without further ado, he clicked on the email the family sent, planning to check on the merit system and its shop. In his previous life, he could only watch those resources pass by him, without being able to hold them. All of the points he collected were used to secure 2 pain relief potions. It was not like he was richer than other juniors, rather, they focused on other resources, ignoring those potions, as they had no idea how important shaving 20% duration off their awakening. They were too consumed with other cool-looking items and substances. Felix himself wanted to buy them as well, but each time he tried to he ended finding out of stock written on the shop, so he could only use his points for those 2 potions. Thank God for that. After clicking the family email, he ignored the merit system explanation and scrolled down until he saw a link to a website. Felix clicked on it and was transferred into a new tab. The connection was quite fast, as the page loaded instantly, displaying a shop with items, each with their price tag on and the number of quantity on its stock. Good, nothing has changed, the prices are still the same. He kept scrolling down the item list while nodding his head from time to time at their cheap prices. Hell, pain relief potion was being sold outside for 10,000 SC, while here Felix could obtain it by trading 10,000 merits, a 2-week of training without missing a single exercise. But those were not his aim. He would leave them to his cousins to use. What he really wanted were the elemental stones so he could start working on increasing his poison affinity to peak, ASAP. It's time to put that lazy bum to work, otherwise, she will feel too comfortable in my consciousness. Vexed, he rubbed his temples, expecting a headache at the thought of Asna, that freeloader who only wants to do the minimum possible effort to help him in his path. Chapter 43, The Wishing System. Chapter 43, The Wishing System. Just forget it, I will call for her when I awaken. Felix understood clearly that even if he bought the stones now, he wouldn't be able to use them without having at least 1% beast bloodline merged with him, since humans couldn't absorb the elements from stones like beasts. Therefore, the only thing he should do was to hoard as much of them as possible, until the day he awakens. He planned to only rely on merits to do so. As for him upcoming 80 million SC, that was for buying the highest bloodline tier possible plus the resources needed for his integration. Helpless and dejected, he sighed over his miserable fate of living as poor pauper no matter how much he earned, but it was his decision to only buy the best for his future bloodline path. No one forced him to do so. He stopped mulling about those negative ideas and pressed on elemental stones. Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, I will now continue the unfinished story. Chapter 45, A Champion is Born. Chapter 45, A Champion is Born. Dumbfounded and confused, the MC and the spectators stared wide-eyed at the shrinking storm they were just celebrating and chanting Levi's name over securing the championship with a marvelous play, yet that alarm tied their tongues, leaving them stunned, not knowing what to do anymore. Their confusion was understandable, as battle royals were supposed to end immediately after one player emerges as the last survivor, yet this was exactly the case, but the storm didn't stop its activities. Why the hell is it still active? Our champion is about to get killed. Muddled and mortified about the entire situation, the MC Titus felt his heart sink at the thought of having a battle royal without a winner. If it happened, the game would turn into the greatest joke in the SG, and as its MC and judge, this humiliation would accompany him through his entire life and afterlife. He understood clearly that his career was currently hanging on a thin line. He must find the anomaly, which was causing this fucked up situation, to save it. Without delaying any further, he put his entire focus on the 500 small screens. His eyes darted from one to another, examining the corpses of the players thoroughly before moving to the next. He already had some theories on his mind. He believed that a player was using fake death passive in those bodies around Levi. This must be it, otherwise, the only two options left were either someone was still alive within the storm, or the game was bugged somehow. If the second option defied common sense, then the SG having a bug was beyond absurdity. The SG never had a bug or an issue happening in a game throughout the million years of its existence. The Queen made sure everything was running smoothly both in the UVR and the SG. Her processing power was no joke, as it was only below the Empress of the Metal Race herself. The only things, which bypassed the Queen's supervision, were the loopholes within the rules, but even those get patched instantly by her. Titus soon finished searching every corpse that was still inside the circle. His eyes, which were focused, suddenly dimmed a bit, as he found that all of those players were truly dead. He lay on the chair with an unfocused gaze, aiming at the sky. He didn't plan to continue his search, as by the time he finishes Levi would be dead. I can't believe I would actually use it. Titus's shoulders slumped as he eyed his bracelet with a humiliated and desperate expression. Queen, please show me the players with signs of life. He gritted his teeth and requested the help of the Queen. If other MCs saw him do so, they would make sure to shame him in public. For a judge and MC to actually request the help of a third party in a game under his rule was the greatest humiliation in their career. But Titus understood that circumstances and time were stacked against him, so he chose the lesser evil. At least he would keep his job. The Queen faithfully marked two small screens with a red X in the middle. Titus ignored Levi's screen and laid his eyes on the other. Impossible, no one can stay alive inside the firestorm for that long, so what the hell am I watching now? Stupefied and shocked, he abruptly stood up from his chair. This action caused his knee to collide with the desk, yet he didn't wince or flinch from the pain, as he was too engrossed, watching a player lying within the storm at the very edge of the map, twitching from time to time. If it wasn't for those twitches, he honestly would have thought that the Queen was pulling his leg. Suddenly, he broke off from his daze and swiftly pinched the screen to enlarge it. He then dragged his finger to the left. Simultaneously, the screen displayed past events rapidly. This is it. He lifted his finger and clicked pause on the screen that was displaying the very beginning of the game when everyone had just got randomly teleported. Titus decided to showcase the events that transpired on the large screen to calm the audience, who were booing and cursing with middle fingers and thumbs down at his inactivity. Who would blame them? Levi, their champion, was constantly screaming and begging with a frightened expression for the MC to get him out of the battleground. He was truly on the verge of insanity as he kept eyeing the storm approaching him from all corners unhurried. From heaven to hell in a blink of an eye, this was Levi's current situation. Too bad, no one could rescue him, as the game was not over yet. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the inconvenience, but if you want to understand why the game is still not over yet, you should watch this replay with me. The moment the large screen displayed solid wall in all of his glory, running like a madman towards the storm, The audience quietened down and paid close attention to him. Titus skipped the first 20 minutes of the game, as nothing much happened to Wally by then. He continued the replay only after the first alarm. That's when the fun truly began. Shocked and honestly creeped out, the MC and the audience watched with unblinking bulging eyes, the entire process of Wally getting burned to crisp, then recovering until he was solid again. This process kept repeating again and again and again. They neither got tired nor bored, they simply watched his never-ending cycle of torture. At this point, no one cared about Levi, who was burning within the storm with indignation and howling with a hoarse voice from agony. The poor lad didn't survive even 5 seconds before his body turned into ash, drifting in the air like his sand mimicry ability. This silence appreciation continued for over 2 hours until the game automatic declaration resounded in the battleground. Congratulations to player number 345 for being the last survivor. By the laws given to me from SGA, I hereby declare you as the champion in this game. After hearing the monotonous voice of the Queen, the MC and the crowd woke up from their engrossment and traded glances between each other in silence and amazement. The only one who was still cheering was Felix, who didn't stop making his voice heard for the entire duration. After all, he just won 80 million SC thanks to Wally. The least thing he could do was cheer him on. Before long, the spectators began to clap their hands, one by one, creating a gradual wave of applause that shook the entire arena to its core. Yet, that was not all. They stood in ovation and respect for Wally, who was lying on the ground unmoving. Probably passed out. Wally, you machinist, only you can survive such an experience. Wally, please wake up. C came me sideways. I never thought I would cry during a game. Wally, Wally, Wally. Excited and filled with fervor, the spectators used their loudest voices to chant Wally's name, hoping that he might wake up and share this glorious moment with them. Alas, Wally was lying like a log, unresponsive to anything. If it wasn't for his chest moving up and down in a shallow manner, they would have assumed that he died as well. This is one of the greatest moments of my life. I never knew that an already heated 500-player battle royal could get any more thrilling. Titus held his mic an inch away from his mouth and said with spit flying everywhere, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are all in luck of being part of this historical moment that showcases the fortitude and determination that we human race take pride in." With eyes shining with devotion and ardent, he thrust his fist in the air and said, "We strive with the best of our abilities toward our goals and dreams. This is how we reached here, and this how it is always going to be for the human race." Suddenly, he jumped from the commentary platform and nosedived downwards, planning to land near Wally. Smash! His landing sent a shockwave, followed by a cloud of dust. A moment after, he walked out of it and approached Wally step by step, while pointing his finger at him with passionate expression. "I hereby declare Solid Wall as the MVP of this year's SG Gold Ranked Games. This is my once-in-a-lifetime nomination, and I hope the title can help him etch his name in the Great Hall of Fame with other MVPs of the Supremacy Games." Just like it was planned. As so, the moment he finished his declaration, he reached the side of Wally. Titus crouched next to him and proclaimed as loud as possible, "Give your loudest cheers for your champion." Felix didn't stick around to cheer with the rest. His voice already went hoarse. Plus, the main protagonist of the game was in a deep coma, unresponsive to their cheers, so there was no reason for him to remain. "Now that's what a true MVP title-worthy player looks like," he smiled, as he left the teleportation circle swiftly. This was the reason why this game became a viral sensation throughout the entire UVR, even to the point where news of it was still being shown for more than 10 years. Felix watched the replay of this game, in a compilation video online, showcasing the top 10 most unorthodox wins in a decade. From first glance, his eyes were moved by Wally's determination for his cause. He couldn't help but link his struggle in his life with Wally's. 20 years, 20 whole years of constant bullying from everyone in the clan he was in, before he successfully broke through stage 3 of replacement. Only then did he earn a solid footing in the clan. Enough, let's not visit those ruthless days. This is a new life and a new me. I won't chase for revenge on those who harmed me. His eyes suddenly turned frigid, scaring the shit out of the cab driver who was peeking at him from the mirror. However, if I saw their faces in front of me, don't blame me for making you eat shit as well. He entered the gambling den, which was currently filled with people curses after losing their fortunes in the 500-player branch. No one expected such a twist to happen. While Solid Wall had 1 in 10 ratings, he was still not favored as Levi, Joshua, and more famous players who had 1 in 3 or 1 in 15 ratings. Felix ignored those gamblers and went straight to the counter. He placed his bracelet in the scanning device. Whoosh! Felix read the notification on his bracelet screen and left the den. His face didn't show a single hint of excitement. He was not a retard to do so near those angry mobs, which were merely looking for someone to vent their anger on. Now I have the capital, it is time for some shopping spree. Immediately after he stepped outside the den, a wide grin replaced his indifferent expression. It's time to buy a bloodline. Chapter 46, Luby Bloodline Shop. Chapter 46, Luby Bloodline Shop. Inside the cab that was heading towards the bloodline market, Felix rested his hand under his chin. As he stared at the view outside absent-mindedly, he was thinking of the best way possible to spend his newly obtained capital. He first decided that 10 million SC would be used as capital for future bets. Meanwhile, the remaining 70 million would be spent on the Tier 4 bloodline, hopefully, an epic ranked one. As for the leftover coins, he planned to use them as payment for the resources he pre-purchased yesterday. He entered the public bloodline market that was packed with rowdy people just like ever. Felix kept walking step by step while browsing the stalls and shops, but he never bought a thing. He just marked the items which pleased him and left them be. He couldn't afford to waste even a single coin from his bloodline capital. 70 million might sound a lot, but Felix knew that it wasn't enough to even buy him a rare Tier 5 bloodline. Don't even mention Tier 6 and 7. However, he was satisfied with Tier 4 for now at least. His abilities would be much stronger than his peers in the same realm. After half an hour of constant browsing, Felix reached a tight, well-lighted alley. He had been walking before towards this specific alley. His browsing and marking were merely a side activity he did on the way. Hopefully, that greedy bastard is still open at this time. Irked, Felix spat on the floor and entered the alley. The image of the shop owner he was on his way to visit ruined his day instantly. Alas, he could only suck it up and tread through the maze-like alleys. After a while, he stopped in front of a clean-looking brick wall with frowned eyebrows. Seconds passed by and Felix just stood frozen in front of it. Fuck me, just do it and get it over with. His frowned eyebrows eased up a bit. He let out a long despairing sigh and without warning, he head-butted the brick wall 3 times and called out loud while gritting his teeth, Luby, the most handsome male in the universe, is not a greedy person I came to buy and not to insult. Felix backed away from the wall and massaged his red forehead that had throbbing veins. Well, anyone would be angered if had to say such embarrassing hidden code to access the shop. A few moments later, the brick wall vibrated, like it was being assaulted by an earthquake. This caused fissures to course through it, drawing an image of a goblin head. Suddenly, the eyes of the goblin materialized and gazed at Felix with a dreadful look. Felix rolled his eyes at this sight and ignored that garbage attempt of scaring him. Kid, who sent you here? I only deal with regulars, and for you to know the secret method to enter my shop, you either must have received a referral, or a spy sent by one of my rivals, so out with it why you are here. A frightful husky voice echoed 3 times in the tight alley. Felix, unbothered by it, extended his middle finger towards the image, and said, Greedy dog, are you still not opening up after I said that embarrassing passcode? He threatened, if you don't let me enter in 3 seconds, I will make sure to tell all your rivals the passcode. He smirked, good luck calling your regulars to tell them that you upgraded your shameful code to a better version of it. I bet they would love it. Cough, handsome mister, no need to be so mean. Come, I was just playing with you. Threats are unnecessary. The horrifying husky voice immediately changed into a pleasing fawning one. Felix sneered and dashed straight into the brick wall, unworried about getting harmed. The instant he did so, the promised sound of the collision did not occur, but only water ripples were left on the surface of the wall. Seconds later, it got hardened back to its original state. The fissures withdrew like snakes entering their holes, leaving the brick wall with a brand new outlook. Nostalgic, Felix nodded his head in appreciation at the massive interior of the shop that was packed with rows upon rows of shelves, each with plenty of unique items, yet the majority of them were bottles filled with different liquids. Some of those bottles were small, while some were as big as a 5-liter water bottle. Felix couldn't help but chuckle after seeing small horned elves not reaching even his knees, running back and forth in the empty shop like they were extremely busy. "What are you laughing at, kid? You never saw a successful business before." A short blue-skinned goblin with long dropped ears, big wide nose, and toothless narrow mouth, stood in front of Felix and inspected him with interest using his left eye, as his right one was hollow inside. Felix crouched down until he was face to face with the blue-skinned goblin and scoffed in his face, "Greedy Luby, how dare you have the face to call this desolate shop successful? It seems like your brazen prices were about to force you to shut down." Unbothered by his mocking tone, Luby shrugged his shoulders with his hands spread wide and smiled politely. "Dear unknown guest, I did not invite you here to buy from me. It was you who knocked on my doorstep without even a referral letter." He extended his thin blue finger and added, "Plus, you came to purchase my items knowingly they are overpriced. Mind telling me why is that, or should I tell you myself?" Felix's eyelids couldn't help but twitch at this bastard counterattack, but he was not planning to brood over this matter forever. The only reason he mocked Luby was to vent some of his anger at being required to use that humiliating passcode. "All right Luby, enough humble bragging, and remove that fake polite smile." Felix went straight to business. "I came here to buy an epic tier 4 poison bloodline. Go bring me all the stock you have, and also bring rare ranks as well." Luby's gentleman manners immediately were thrown in the sewers as he licked his lips like a vampire ready to devour all of Felix's hard-earned coins. He didn't have Greedy Luby as a nickname for no reason. Felix's shoulders couldn't help but tense at this sight. He knew that he needs to bring his A game during the negotiation, otherwise, he would leave the shop butt naked, without a single dim in his account. "Give me 5 minutes and all my stock will be in front of you." Luby rubbed his hands together and added while eyeing the shelves, "Meanwhile you can browse my bloodline item collection. You might find something that pleases you." Without waiting for Felix's response, he swiftly bolted towards the back of the shop, while calling for the little cute deer elves to follow him. Felix didn't need Luby's reminder, as he was planning to examine those items in the first place. He walked near the shelves. While examining the items one by one, he kept commentating on the ones he found interesting. "Oh ho! A Greykeeper bear claw that can be merged with an arm, and used to increase the power of claw abilities. Not bad." He nodded, as he held a sharp-looking grey claw. "Works best if the bloodline integrated with was the keeper bear itself." "Whoa, that greedy dog actually got hold of this. What a lucky bastard. If he sold it to a desperate person, he might rip him off with double to triple the price." Felix exclaimed as he appraised with wide eyes a unique-looking penis that was constantly changing its size and shape, based on the thoughts of the holder. One can easily infer how well received this item would be for men. 3 minutes later, Luby came back holding 4 bloodline bottles, 2 in each hand, while his minions each held 1 bottle. "Dear customer, my entire poison stock is here." Luby put the bottles on a desk and said with a solemn tone, "Please take your time in your choice. I don't mind waiting. Just make sure that the bloodline you choose is perfect for your future path." Luby's warning was genuine, as every time a young lad paid a visit to his shop, he only leaves after buying the most expensive bloodline there was in the shop, not caring if the beast he picked had a good rapport with him. Their ignorance resulted in them having at least their strength lowered by 30%. The synergy between the bloodline and the host must never be disparaged, as each beast had abilities specifically made for a unique fighting style. Some beasts preferred using their body parts as their main source of power, while their element provided assistance, while some were the total opposite, as they relied heavily on their elemental abilities to fight their battles. Those beasts preferred keeping distance. Those young kids only realized this fact after the deed was already done. This led to only one result, and that was forcing them to hasten their integration to replace the bloodline, totally ignoring building a solid foundation. Felix knew all of this as well, thus Luby's advice meant nothing to him, but he still appreciated his warning. "Thanks for the advice, but don't worry, I already know what I am doing," he smiled and requested. "Now can you clear the room for me, so I can focus on my choice, please?" "Got it." Luby clapped his hands twice and went upstairs, followed by his minions. Felix's focus was brought to the 10 bottles before him. After hearing the sound of the door gets closed, he held the first one and scanned it with his bracelet. Soon, all the details of it were shown as a hologram. / bloodline name, 100-legged poisonous tarantula. Tier, 4. Rank, rare. Passive abilities pool, paralyze, poison immunity, skin hardening, night vision, wall crawling, finger flexibility, etc. Active abilities pool, organic webbing shot, penetrative fingers, sleep inducement bite, web cocoon seal, etc. History: the tarantula is a spider-type beast that uses poison element and silk element. Its current habitat is rainforests in rainy-kind Ryan planet that is near the edges of the Andromeda Galaxy // Felix shook his head and closed the hologram. He was never a spider-type lover. He preferred snakes and serpents beasts, just like in his previous life. He had a good rapport with them, and he wouldn't change the species, just because he had a fresh start. It was always better to learn from experience than to try new things all over again, wasting a ton of time just to be edgy. So, he excluded every bottle that had a bloodline of a different species, leaving only bottles that had snakes and serpents bloodline on the table. As he read the details of each of those bloodlines, he kept shaking his head in disappointment over the current stock. "Am I just unlucky to end up with this trashy stock, or Luby lied and did not bring his best?" Confused and disappointed, Felix tapped his finger on the table as he eyed the last bottle. He truly began to believe that Luby brought him a shitty stock because he was not a regular customer. Sigh, I hope the last bottle is at least somewhat good. Felix already stopped thinking about buying the best at this point. He just wanted something that fits him. He was not one of those bloodliners who chase after the perfect bloodline. Unlike them, Felix understood clearly that chasing after the perfect bloodline was the same as chasing after the perfect girl to marry, something that was clearly an illusion. Oh ho ho. However, the moment he saw the details of the last bottle, his crooked vision about the perfect bloodline couldn't help but adjust a little. Just like love at first sight, he knew this was the bloodline he would awake with. Chapter 47, Successfully Buying the Bloodline. Chapter 47, Successfully Buying the Bloodline. / bloodline name, Heavy Giant Anomamba. Tier, 4. Rank, Epic. Passive abilities pool, superhuman strength, mild poison resistance, infrared vision, skin shed, infection immunity, etc. Active abilities pool, venom spit, strangle, instant devour, tail lash, toxic miasma, dizziness swamp, absolute defense, etc. History: the Anomamba is a serpent-type beast that uses poison element. Its current habitat is the Death Valleys on the planet Venusu. No more information has been obtained / This was it, the best current bloodline to awaken with, since every better option was either too expensive for Felix, or not his type. As for the passive and active abilities pools, there were few low-tier abilities, such as Skin Shed and Venom Spit, but the majority was tier 4, so it just depends on his luck to unlock them. Wholly satisfied, Felix put the bottle within the stock and picked a random epic rank bottle. Then with an elated voice, he called out loud, "Luby comes here, I have made my choice." Slam. Luby smashed the door with his leg and bolted down the stairs with his little legs, not afraid of tripping. Meanwhile, the cute deer elves hugged the staircase metal bar and slid down rapidly. Thump thump. Their plump bodies were hurled into a cushion right before the stairs. They truly prepared everything to rush downstairs. "I am glad you fancied one of my bloodlines. Tell me which one is it so I can deliver it to you." Luby rubbed his hands with a wide grin, exposing his toothless mouth. "This one, the Red Mother Centipede, an epic rank beast. Tell me its price first. I know that you add at least 30% extra on the market price of the bloodline." Felix's hand tightened on the bottle with of desperation on his eyes, yet, in the blink of an eye, those low-key hints were gone just like magic. Out with it, how much? He coughed. Luby with his experience did not miss such hints, but he said nothing about them. He just blinked at Felix with honest expression. Well, even though I add 30% extra, you do know that it is fully justifiable since my bottles always contain 75% or more bloodline essence of the beast. He gave a half shrug, but if you bought from other shops with the market price, don't blame me when you find the bottle you bought only had 10% essence. At that moment you won't have tears to cry over. His eyes turned stern real quick, as he advised him, trust me on this one, it is never a good option to gamble with your bloodline path, just pay extra and secure a safe path. Felix couldn't help but nod in affirmation. He knew that everything Luby just said was completely true, as not everyone was able to extract 75% plus bloodline essence from a beast. The only ones, who were able to handle such a remarkable feat, were top-notch professional extractors. An occupation worthy of respect and admiration, as only the brightest and most intelligent humans could have a chance to work in that field. After all, the job relies on having a vast amount of knowledge about beasts' genes, habitat, family tree, and more of such deep detailed information. Because to extract bloodline essence that had the beast inherited power and abilities from its parents, one must first be able to locate and study them, then seize those genes and put them in a bottle. The more experience and talent an extractor had, the more percentage he would be able to extract. If it wasn't for those talented people, the beast blood would simply appear as liquid like in every species. It was only due to them that the term bloodline emerged in the first place. However, just like in every career, job, and occupation, there were always amateurs and stupid sheep, who had absolutely zero clues on what the fuck they were doing. Those amateurs were dominating this occupation with their massive numbers. They read a couple of studies here and there, do a little research and experiments for a couple of years, and then graduated with a degree in bloodline extraction. It would be all fine and dandy if it was just so. The real issue was their trash extraction percentage, not reaching even 20%. This meant that the bloodline would end up having 80% of its essence all wasted. The sad thing was that most hunters still hired them to do the deed on the beast they killed, since they couldn't afford to hire a professional extractor. What's even more fucked up was that even if they hired them and managed to obtain 80% essence of the beast, who would trust their words and buy it from them, when it was easy to fool the AP bracelet scanning feature? One just had to mix multiple essences in one bottle and voila, a fresh 80% plus essence was ready to be served, as a scam. Those bottles were as useless as a fart in a wind tunnel. No one could integrate with a mixed bloodline. That was just impossible. It was debated and tested before. After quite a lot of scams using this strategy, no one bothered to buy bottles, which claimed to have 75% plus essence, without validating the seller's reputation first. That was the reason why Luby added 30% on the price, because he guaranteed the bloodline that the shopper received was the real deal. He built this reputation over 50 years of hard work, and in this kind of business, reputation was everything. Alright, stop beating around the bush, just state your price. Hopefully, it is within my budget. Felix gripped his fist tightly and put it in his pocket. Innocent and sincere, Luby enlarged pupil stared at Felix right in the eyes, and just like a puppy said, 100 million SCN. Without even waiting for Luby to finish his sentence, Felix clutched his heart in anguish, as he stumbled a step back. His glass heart was shattered at the exorbitant price. Luby, unbothered by Felix's act, scratched his cheek and added, "This is even with a 5% discount. Since you are shopping here for the first time, I'm really doing you a favor here, kid. I should have expected this, but still your prices are really heart-wrenching." Felix inhaled a deep breath and put the bottle back on the table, and said with a reluctant expression, "I apologize, but it seems that I am leaving empty-handed from your shop today." He shook his head. "My budget is really not enough to close the gap. I guess I am not fated for Mother Centipede." Helpless and dejected, he sighed and turned around, walking towards the brick wall. However, before he took 2 steps, Luby lunged at his knee and clung on it with a forced smile. Now, we can always figure something out that benefits both of us. You just have to tell me your budget and I will see what I can do about it. I slaved myself for a couple of years, to collect 60 million SC to buy a bloodline worthy enough to integrate with. Now that I found it, my budget failed me. Felix lowered his head with slumped shoulders and said, so tell me, what can you do to fix this? And just know 60 million is everything I have. I can't add a single coin. Luby's heart instantly sank, as he knew that this deal was a lost cause. No matter what he said or did, it was impossible for him to reduce 40 million in one go. Even if he removed the extra 20 million that was meant to rip Felix off and leave only the original 80 million, it wouldn't be much to buy his bloodline. Well, you are right, the gap is too large to close down. I can't do much about it. He pointed his finger at the bloodlines on the table and said with temptation, but there are still other bloodlines you can buy with 60 million. Just pick another one, and I will give you a great deal. But I don't want another one. I felt a connection to only Mother Centipede and nothing else moved me. Felix mercilessly hurled Luby towards the desk, like he was getting rid of his slipper, and continued walking forward. Just forget it. It's better if I went to Sililan's shop. I might find my fateful bloodline there. Crash. Luby's head collided with the corner of the desk harshly, yet he felt nothing but rage and humiliation after hearing Felix mention that Sililan had better stock than him. Close the store. This little bastard is not leaving until he buys a bloodline, he roared with blue blood running down his temple. Befuddled and amused, Felix watched three little deer elves blocking his way with two hooves extended forward, while the rest were closing down the gate. What's the meaning of this, Luby? Are you trying to force me to buy from your stock or what? He crossed his arms with displeased expression and added, if streets got word of this, your reputation will be tarnished, and we all know business is doomed without it. He turned around and smiled warmly towards the little elves. So let me leave in peace and I will act as nothing happened. I don't care, I won't let you leave until you see the prices of those bloodlines. Stubborn, Luby stood up and dusted himself. Unbothered about his bloody face, he merely gave Felix a defiant look. Trust me, you will definitely be pleased by how cheap they are. Felix eyed the bloodlines on the table, then Luby's stubborn expression. He sighed and approached him again. All right, if your prices are cheap enough not to put a dent on my budget, I will consider getting a bloodline here. He tapped his finger on the table and rushed him. Hurry up and show me. Without delaying for even a second, Luby brought a rare rank bottle to his face and said, this one cost merely 35 million SC, quite cheap considering that I usually sell it for 40 million. Pass. This is for 50 million. This one is 59 million. After getting 8 bottles disregarded by Felix, Luby started to lose hope of catching his attention. This one is 57 million epic rank bloodline. Its original price is actually 65 million. This is as cheap as it can get. He rubbed his eyebrows and presented the Anomamba bloodline that Felix desired. Curious, Felix raised an eyebrow and took the bottle from Luby's hands. Give me a moment, I want to see its details. He coughed and explained, previously, I ignored the rest of the bloodlines after I found the Mother Centipede. Believe me, this is one of the good bloodlines within the epic ranks. It was extremely hard to catch due to its defense and overwhelming strength. He sighed, a lot of my hunters have been devoured by it. Yeah, whatever. Felix waved his hand, and shooed him away. Go to the corner and let me read in peace. Your overselling won't move me. Luby immediately shut his mouth and gazed at Felix's expression turned from intrigue to boredom, as he read the details of the bloodline. Just as his mind was started to get filled with despairing thoughts, he heard Felix's disinterested voice, whatever, I might take this if you lower the price to 55 million. He shook his head, I will not waste my entire budget on a bloodline that doesn't fit my fighting style that much. So sell it with 55 million, or I am heading to Sililan's shop. This time you can't stop me. He laid his last offer with a firm expression. Luby, unbothered by his tone, nodded his head like a chicken and extended his hand for a handshake. It's a deal. We can sign a contract right now. Just never buy from Sililan's shop, and I will give you a lifetime 5% discount in my shop. All right, I see no issue in that. Prepare the contract please. I have other places to be. Felix shook his hand and waited patiently for Luby to prepare the contract. He didn't break out of his indifferent character for not even a moment. A few minutes later, Luby displayed a one-page holographic contract before Felix. There were not too many conditions on it. I see no issues with the terms and conditions, but change one little thing. Felix pointed his finger at the third clause and said, I will take care of delivery to my planet. Just give me the serial code of the bottle. I will decide when to receive it. No problem. Luby lightly touched Felix's bracelet and informed, I have sent it to you. You just need to call delivery company and it will reach your doorstep undamaged. After seeing that everything was perfect, Felix signed the contract with a pleasing smile. He then stood up and bid farewell to Luby, as he left through the brick wall. There was no reason to remain anymore. 55 million SC was deducted from his bank account the moment he signed the contract. As for the bottle, he left it inside. What's important was the unique serial code of the product. Immediately after Felix left the shop, Luby did a little dance with excitement written all over his face. Go prepare a small party today. We celebrate this victory over that cheating bitch, he ordered while biting his lips. If he had teeth he would have gritted them. You stole my heart, and then stomped on it mercilessly. You stole my job network, and then ruined my reputation, making me hide here like a rat. Now you want to steal my clients as well. He opened a bottle of wine that was handed to him by the elves and chugged it down fully. Within few seconds he wiped his mouth clean with his sleeves and sneered, in your fucking dream, Cylilin. As long as I live, I will climb back to where I was, and I will destroy you. I swear on it. Just wait, you bitch. Chapter 48, Shopping Spree. Chapter 48, Shopping Spree. Heh, to actually give me a 5% permanent discount on my first purchase. He truly hates his ex-wife. Amused and somewhat curious, Felix walked through the alleys with his hand rested on his chin. He had no idea what she did to make him turn into that state each time he heard her name. To the best of his knowledge, they had a massive enmity between them, massive to the point a customer in his previous life had used the same strategy and worked just like a charm. Yet, the retard didn't keep it to himself but spread it to others, making it public knowledge. After that, everyone tried to take advantage of Luby's hatred by taunting him that his ex-wife had better products and prices than his, to get the same results as Felix's. Unfortunately for them, Luby easily figured out that his secret was in the open after tens of costumers mentioned his wife over and over again, thus he blacklisted all of them and anyone who said the name of that bitch in his shop. Now that I have the bloodline, as well as the potions, I can without a doubt awaken smoothly. He folded his hands and prayed for his bloodline to have 80% or 90% essence, so after he integrates all of it only a few percentages would be left to cover. At that point, he could go buy the bloodline again, but this time cheaper from the public market to finish the 99%. After a while, he exited from the same alley he came from before and submerged himself within the crowd with hands in his oversized dark hoodie. His direction was clear. The resources market. Ring ring. The doorbell echoed in a small shop 2 times, as Felix pushed the door wide open. The shop owner, who was snoring thunderously in his slumber, woke up disoriented by the doorbell ringing. Felix trod forth and stood before the owner. He clapped his hand twice and said, Mr. Piggy, I am here to pay for the items I pre-purchased yesterday and also to buy other things. Still muddled, Mr. Piggy rubbed his small eyes and snorted with his pig-like nose out of habit at Felix. Oh, it's you again. He scratched his messy bearded chin and read from a hologram, the full amount that we agreed upon was 11 million for 7 products. Here is your shopping cart. He enlarged the hologram and made it visible for Felix. / 1. Minor longevity potion, allows a commoner user to obtain 300 extra years to live. Also, remarkable at cleaning his body from all diseases and injuries. The price, 850,000 SC. Quantity, 1. 2. Rejuvenation potion, it can heal a commoner / bloodliner back into a healthy state, without any hidden injuries, works only for bloodliners under stage 2 of replacement. The price, 10,000 SC. Quantity, 3. 3. Double percentage potion, allows the user to double the number of bloodlines percentages to integrate with. Pain waves remain the same as before the use of this potion. The price, 200,000 SC. 4. Fuchsia's eagle wings substance, provides the user with the beast's wings for a limited duration of 15 minutes. The price, 20,000 SC. 6. Double-headed viper poison gland, can be used to upgrade the user poison resistance, works only if the user has the passive. The price, 20,000 SC. Quantity, 1//. Those are all items that you pre-purchased yesterday. I hope we can finalize the deal now. Mr. Piggy brought all of Felix's products and spread them apart on the table. Satisfied, Felix nodded his head and extended his wrist forward. Mr. Piggy did the same and touched Felix's bracelet to complete the payment transfer and also send all the serial numbers of the products. The contract was already signed yesterday. All right, Mr. Felix, it was a great pleasure dealing business with you. Now you can roam freely within my shop and wake me up if you liked anything. Exhausted from speaking this much, Mr. Piggy returned to his seat and laid on it in a relaxed manner with his eyes dead closed. A few seconds later, his snores were resounding in the shop again. No wonder it was empty. Such a lazy pig would rather kick customers out than to waste time answering their questions. Unbothered by the snores, Felix browsed the items on the shelves with a finger pressed on his lips. His eyes drifted from a potion to a substance, yet nothing grabbed his interest. Mr. Piggy informed him yesterday that new stock was going to be displayed today. That's why he even bothered to browse again. Oh! Everlasting youth substance. This is the perfect gift for Auntie and Leela. Delighted, he smiled pleasantly. As he held a small bottle filled with pink dust, he knew that nothing would bring more joy to a woman than to keep her youthful looks until death. His aunt and Leela deserved more than just this, based on their unconditional assistance during the island remodel. This was the least Felix could do to repay them. He then took 2 bottles with him and searched the shelves for more useful products. After reading the details of over 30 products, he only picked 4 of them and decided to call it a quit. Oh, Mr. Piggy, please wake up. I want to add those items to my cart. Felix kept poking Mr. Piggy cheeks, as he called near his ears. With half-closed eyes, drool dripping down his chin, Mr. Piggy pointed his bracelet at the items and scanned them. 2 youth substance, 1 skin hardening potion, 1 invisibility potion. The total is 60,000 SC. Felix paid him the amount and obtained their serial codes. He then bade farewell and left the shop satisfied by his shopping spree. All right, there is still one more shop I need to visit, then I can call it a day for now, he thought while heading towards the lady boss shop. 1 hour later, Felix sat on the park bench while holding vanilla ice cream in one hand, while the other displayed a holographic list of his item serial numbers. Should I use a human delivery company, or go for the Wormhole Company Express? Although this question was repeating in Felix's mind constantly, he already knew his choice. The only reason he was brooding over this matter was due to his reluctance to pay the maddening shipment price of the Wormhole Express. But honestly, they justify it by their solid reputation of 100% delivery successful rate. Meanwhile, humans' delivery ships could get robbed by pirates. Felix wasn't worried about losing his items, as he had an insurance policy installed on them, that guaranteed that his products would be given back free of charge. However, just like Earthlings' insurance companies, the procedures and paperwork would take an extremely long period before they get it done. A typical action by those companies to delay paying their bill as much as possible. Felix wasn't planning to entertain their bullshit at this critical period. He understood that his awakening must be done before the end of the first stage of the training camp, otherwise, the elders would force him to use their trashy bloodline. Helpless and vexed, he took a large bite from the ice cream cone and closed the hologram. His decision was made. Even though he must pay at least 500,000 SC for the shipment, his items would reach his doorstep in 7 days tops, undamaged. This gave him some peace of mind. After getting that over with, he lifted his head and observed the beautiful scene of multiple subhumans' families, playing with their children in the park. A gentle smile couldn't help but sneak upon his mouth. I should probably buy a house and VR pod after I leave the training camp. He knew that for one to be able to stay permanently within the UVR, A VR pod and a house was a necessity. Felix didn't want to stay inside forever, like some weirdos, but staying for a couple of weeks to months was no issue to him, especially when he joins the Supremacy Games. After all, some games might reach tens of hours in duration. Felix definitely didn't want his fate to be the same as the peeing guy. Amused, he guffawed out loud, unbothered by the strange looks he was receiving. How could he not, after the memory of a viral game resurfaced in his mind, showcasing a player begging for the MC to pause the game for 2 minutes to take a piss in real life? Sadly, the SG was not a video game where one could click pause, so the poor player had to piss himself in bed and in-game under the humiliating jeers of the audience. However, this was not the reason it went viral, but due to the player managing to clutch the championship at the end. One could only imagine how his face was like during the process of receiving his trophy. From that moment on, not a single player decided to enter a game without a VR pod, and Felix had no thoughts of doing the opposite. Chapter 49, Esna Reappearance. Chapter 49, Esna Reappearance. Next morning, 10 a.m. Felix was eating his breakfast together with Olivia in the cafeteria. He held a cup of orange juice with its straw on close to his mouth, yet he didn't take a sip, as Olivia's way of eating cookies was distracting him. Who could blame him, though? Olivia kept munching on them with her eyes closed, just like a squirrel. Little Oli, can you not munch on cookies like that? You are ruining the adult image that we worked hard to build. But I can't help it, they are too delicious. She sulked with some crumbles on her lips and cheeks, as she gazed at the last cookie on her. Also, I will not change my personality. I love sweet food and I will keep eating them like this. If anyone dares to treat me like a child or bully me, I will bite him. She bared her fangs at him. Helpless yet somewhat amused, Felix could only stare at her eat the last cookie with the same expression. Well, you do you, I guess. After Oli finished her breakfast, she asked Felix, today is Sunday, and we don't have any training to finish. Do you have any fun plans for today? She smiled with anticipation clearly written all over her face. I want to accompany you. With a finger pressed on his chin, Felix gazed absent-mindedly. After hearing her question, he was pondering if he should head to the cinema in the UVR, to entice that lazy bum into reopening the connection between them. After all, Felix was only waiting for the pain relief potions to arrive at the lady boss shop, so he could deliver everything home at once. Based on what she said, it would take a max 15 days. This meant Felix's awakening would happen before even a month. That's just around the corner. It was better to start preparing for their future plans now than do so at the moment of awakening. I will probably enter the UVR cinema. Do you want to come as well? Bewildered and excited, Olivia suddenly stood up with her hands on the table. Whoa, you can do that? She tilted her head slightly. I thought only the owner of the AP bracelet can enter the UVR. How can you take me in as well? Indeed, I can use the party feature in the bracelet to take as many as 10, and this number is only limited because my bracelet generation is quite old. But there is 4 hours duration limit, and after exceeding it one must start paying 500 SC each hour. Nonchalant, Felix explained as he took quick sips in between. So cool. Felix nodded his head casually and continued eating. However, before he chewed, he sensed Olivia's eyes digging through his forehead. He lifted his head and saw her toying with a lock of hair, with flushed cheeks. He chuckled and asked, do you want to bring anyone else? Olivia avoided having eye contact and nodded her head softly. I want to invite Sarah, as she always annoys me that her dream was to enter the UVR. Although Felix explained that he could take 10 people at once, she had a thin face to ask for another favor. In her mind, he already did more than enough by taking her in and paying for her. She wasn't stupid to not understand that cinema tickets were probably expensive for Felix since he wasn't working in the UVR and the family definitely didn't give him an allowance. If only she knew that Felix's leftover coins probably exceeded the family's entire capital, she wouldn't have those thoughts. Do as you wish, as long as the number does not exceed 10, I don't care who you invite. Felix cleaned his mouth with a handkerchief and added, this is a one-time offer and won't repeat again. He then stood up and headed towards his room while saying, come to my room 2 hours from now. Thank you, Felix, you are the best. Exited and eager to deliver the news, Olivia left the table messy and bolted towards Sarah's room. Felix could only sigh and clear after her. "Don't treat me as a child, my ass," he mumbled under his breath, as he carried the trays to the cafeteria's counter. 1 hour and 45 minutes later. Felix sat on his bed with black lines on his forehead. "You old hag, open up already, it is time to awaken, I am only waiting for you." Sadly, just like the last few tries, there was no response. Felix used everything from enticing, to lying, and cursing, yet nothing managed to move her and re-establish the connection. Livid, he threw the pillow at his TV screen. He truly couldn't handle her bullshit anymore. He never saw such an unreliable and irresponsible partner before. Why can't she act like an elder or mentor and show me the way as I read online? How can I be this unlucky to end up with this lazy pig, who only wants to watch movies and series? He really began to feel that she got too comfortable in his consciousness and lost her motivation to regain her freedom. After a while, he stopped bothering himself with those gentle methods for someone like Asna. The only thing that worked best was threats and sticks. His expression turned nasty. "And though, let's see if you will continue to ignore me after I drink memory erasing potion." Felix was ready to pull all stops and drink that potion to erase his memories of movies and series. At that point, Asna wouldn't be able to enjoy her lazy stay in his consciousness and be active in helping him plan ahead. After all, she said it herself that more information was needed for her to see how to improve the cheats she gave him, but how the hell was she supposed to get it, when her attention was elsewhere? Suddenly an irritated voice was heard in his mind. "Bastard, can't you take a hint and leave me alone to watch in peace?" She yawned. "I already reached episode 200 of the Masked Lady drama series. I was about to talk to you after I finish the last 10 episodes. Felix raised his eyebrows in surprise at her sudden entrance. He didn't think that his threat was going to show a positive result this fast. "You went offline for over 6 months, and you only watched 200 EP of that amazing series." He smirked. "I finished them in 2 months. You really disappointed me. You dare look down on me while using 2 months to watch that series? You know nothing, little bastard." She puffed her chest out and said, "I used 6 months to watch all the movies and series on your memories. The Masked Lady was the last one," she explained with a hint of dread. "That's why I was planning to head out, since there will be nothing fun to do here anymore after I finish it." Felix didn't notice her voice cracking at her mentioning the last part. His mind short-circuited the moment she mentioned spending 6 months to finish his colossal liberty of movies and series that took him years upon years of lazing around to gather in his previous life, yet such an unfathomable amount was finished in 6 months. What kind of sick joke was this? Horrified, a sudden idea sneaked upon him and took root in his mind. Unless she did not sleep the past 6 months, and only watched continuously movie after movie and episode after episode. How can someone be able to do that? Neets around the world will kowtow in worship if they heard of her achievement. Furious at him calling her neat, Asna tried to throw the remote control at the TV like usual, but her hands refused to obey. Her mental energy was drained to the bottom of the barrel, and her sunken face with dark panda eyes only made it appear as such. Throwing the controller or not, she still raged at him, unbothered about her new ugly look. "Bastard, are you complimenting me, or insulting me by calling me a neat?" she explained with a huff. "Never associate me those lazy bastards. I only watched movies and series because I was sealed for 20 million years without any entertainment in my life, so I had to close the gap. Now leave me alone to finish those last remaining episodes in peace. I will call you later." She shooed him away with a hand wave and pressed on the play button. Felix hastily informed her before she cut off the connection, "Tomorrow I need you in your best form and shape. We will try a quick experiment with a poison stone to see if I can absorb the element without a beast's bloodline." He gave a half shrug. "Maybe it will work since you are merged with me." "Whatever, talk later." Asna quickly cut off the connection to focus on the drama. "Well, at least she got my message." He scoffed on her TV addiction and lay on the bed with his arms crossed behind his head. "She dares says she is not a neat." Knock knock. Before he even found a comfortable position, A sudden door knocks resounded in the room. Felix glanced at his bracelet. They came just in time. Without wanting to keep them waiting, he walked toward the door and opened it slowly with a gentle smile, yet his smile stiffened immediately after opening the door wide open. He gawked at 10 of his female cousins, each wearing a different outfit that highlighted her greatest asset. Some wore a short skirt with black stockings on, while some had tight blue jeans on with a t-shirt. The only thing that remained identical was their beauty. Just like Felix, they also inherited good looks from their parents. Exasperated, he closed his eyes and rubbed his eyelids. He just remembered that Sarah had the biggest mouth in the family. Her gossipy personality was truly one of a kind. He knew that he made a big mistake by giving them a whole 2 hours before they enter, as it was enough for Sarah to spread the information and for Olivia's good personality to give in to her cousin's request and bring them to him. He figured as much by looking at Olivia, who was peeking at him with one eye behind Sarah. First, I will place some ground rules, so we won't have issues later. Felix decided to fold before his cousins even said anything. He wasn't a retard to disappoint those ladies' hopeful looks. God knows how would they treat him after. He extended 3 fingers with an indifferent expression. The first rule is, this is a one-time thing. Don't expect that I will keep taking you in the UVR each day. I neither have time nor energy, he warned. Secondly, when we enter, follow me everywhere I go, since you can get kidnapped inside, and get abused those 2 hours until you get kicked out. He turned around and walked inside while saying the last rule with a beseeching tone. Last, please don't point and gawk at anything you see. We don't want to be tagged as country bumpkins. Understood. The young ladies just kept nodding their heads like chicken. Heck, even if he asked them to get naked to activate the party feature, they wouldn't hesitate. At this point, the only thing in their eyes was Felix's AP bracelet. Felix cringed at those looks, as he knew that today wasn't going to be a pleasant experience in the UVR with them. Whatever, we will be wearing a disguise. Even if we get embarrassed, no one will know it is us. Please enter and close the door behind you. Elated and eager, his cousins rushed inside with their hands raised above their heads. Their loud cheers didn't alert anyone, as the rooms were soundproof. The last one to enter was Olivia. She sneaked inside and hid behind Sarah like a shadow. She truly wanted to avoid Felix at all costs. After all, she brought a massive headache to his doorstep, when he simply tried to bring her out to hang. I hope he doesn't punish me for it. Worried, she peeked at Felix, who was rubbing his temples with closed eyes, as his brain was being assaulted by their never-ending loud chatter. Chapter 50, A Wasted Effort. Chapter 50, A Wasted Effort. Felix clapped his hands twice to quieten them down, as well as attract their attention to him. I want all of you to find a place and lay down properly, he explained. You are going to spend about 4 hours inside the UVR, so choose a comfortable position, lest your muscles ache when you return. Obedient, they listened to his advice and lay down either on the ground or the couch. Not one of them chose the bed, as it was only proper to act like a guest and not as a snobbish girl, wanting only the best. Shortly after, all the girls were in a good comfortable position. Those on the ground had pillows and bed sheets underneath them, so it wasn't actually that bad. Satisfied by their behavior, Felix nodded his head, as his eyes were drifting from one cousin to another. Suddenly, his eyes landed on 2 exposed little feet under his bed. If it wasn't for the toes flinching from time to time, anyone would have assumed that a dead body was lying there. Without a second thought, he knew whose feet were those. But he ignored that hamster and began explaining how the bracelet party feature works. I will visit each of you and touch your forehead with my bracelet. He tapped a few times on his bracelet and continued. After bringing out a hologram in front of them, you just say the sentence. He pointed at the hologram that displayed a short sentence that said, I willingly chose to enter the UVR, using Felix's AP bracelet, and I accept all the terms and conditions of being a party member. Human uprising. Human melodies. Your purchase has been successful. In 5 minutes a servant shall deliver the item to your room.